All right, welcome back to the Good Time Podcast. We're here with, if you want to say your name.
My name is Ryan Shewchuk.
A.K.A. Best of Midland, A.K.A. Podcast Depth, or is it really 40 Wolf Studio? Or both?
40 Wolves is my company. Podcast Department is a little bit of merch and just like a little bit of
nice
another sort of side
nice
entity. But most people know me from Best of Midland, our podcast, and then, like I said, I produce a ton of other podcasts for under 40
Yeah, you
Wolves.
do. The podcast guy in Midland, you could say.
Round of applause.
Oh, wow. Woo! That's a first. I appreciate it.
No one said that?
No one has clapped for
Well, let's give him another clap.
I can't imagine the audio on this. Okay. I would say I'm probably the most passionate about podcast production here at scale. I mean, obviously, you know, anyone can start a podcast, and it's just a matter of like the strategy and all the other things that go around. I think you'd be one of the people that would agree with me that, you know, producing a podcast at scale is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's a lot of work.
It takes so much more work just randomly trying shit too.
Right.
And then failing on stuff sometimes.
It's a constant trial and error. I'm still, I mean, like I said, I'm a couple years in, and it's still trial and error for me. Dude.
Yeah.
I don't have it all figured out by any means.
Yeah. Well, I think Best of Midland's dope. You produce some of the coolest podcasts that I watch in Midland, so that's pretty cool. So you're from Vegas originally, right?
Yeah, I'm from Las Vegas. I grew up in Vegas.
You grew up in Vegas? So this is so interesting. What's it's like growing up in Vegas? Like, do you grow up like 13, going to the strip with your friends on the weekend? Like,
A lot of the strip. I think the thing that you have to understand is that, like, I essentially grew up there from, you know, a child, right? And so I didn't really know anywhere else, right?
Okay.
And so when you're talking about like the strip, or you're talking about downtown Vegas, or you're talking about all the things, it's just, I didn't know any better.
That's
right?
just hometown.
That's just what you do, right?
That's so
just
funny.
what you know. Now have lived in some other places, I'm going like, oh, okay, Vegas is wildly different.
very different.
Growing.
I've never
when
even
you're growing.
been.
Oh, really?
I want to go so bad. It's so cheap. I don't know why I haven't been.
I would, yeah. So I used to run social media for Vegas.com for probably 8 years or something.
Okay.
And so I would so my job literally was to know everything that's going on in Vegas
Oh, okay.
at any given time, right? And so what I would tell you is, if you're going to go to Vegas, by all means go. There's some very distinct times of the year that
What's
you
the
want to
best
go.
time to go? Spit game.
January is kind of a wash. There's a lot of conferences, unless you're going for conferences.
Okay.
I would say that, like, in March is March Madness, and so if you're into college sports, that's a good time to go.
Okay.
The summer is just when it's going to be the most crowded,
Okay.
and obviously the heat is going to be a factor. And so if you're planning on spending time in the pools, then by all means. I would personally say that, like, the fall is a pretty
I'm a
good time.
blackjack guy. Like, I just want to where I can go.
If you just want to go gamble, then that's year round. You can go whenever you want. By all means, go.
Well, like the least busiest times, I guess you could say, would probably be.
In the fall.
Yeah, you kind of just have to. Vegas is all around conferences,
Okay.
right? And so if you can try to figure out like when of the major conferences are going to be there, and I'm just telling you that from the perspective of like hotel room rates, and things like that. Like,
that makes sense.
my wife used to work in the hotel, world, and so she would even know more so like of going like, oh, when's the cheapest time to go versus when is the just you're just going to pay absorbent amount just because a certain conference was there at the same time.
So how many places were you in between Vegas and Midland?
Just really one. So I lived in Seattle for a few years.
Nice.
So I was working.
Shout out my Aunt Sandy. She's from Seattle.
Oh, nice. I loved the Pacific Northwest for a time. My kids are from that area, so I was sort of living up there and working up there. Ultimately, like, I just didn't understand the cost of living in Seattle is bananas.
Okay.
And the traffic at that time was like bananas. And obviously everybody talks about
What
the weather.
time was this? What
This
year?
was like 2016 to 2018.
Okay, right before it got really bad, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Pretty much if you weren't working for Microsoft or Amazon, like, I'd be like, why are you here? Like,
Yeah.
Besides the people who grew up there, like, obviously if this is
Yeah.
your hometown, like, you love it. I just recognized, I was like, man, what I was paying for an apartment was bananas.
Really?
In comparison to Vegas, how Vegas was before the Raiders.
Okay.
Right? Vegas was like,
So the
cheap.
Raiders really changed the economy there?
I think it had been going upwards.
Yeah.
Like, I left in 2016 in Seattle, but I came back to Vegas in 2018.
Oh, okay.
And when I came back, it was even more expensive. But then they were like announcing the Raiders and all this stuff like that. And so I definitely feel like they were like, yeah, like
because they don't have a baseball or basketball team, huh?
I mean, the Oakland A's are coming.
True.
Now I'm sure they'll get it. I mean, they have.
They are.
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that. That's sick.
Yeah, I think they're in the talk. They're in the early stages of building a stadium.
That's
which
really
is good.
cool.
The stadium's going to be on the Strip, by the way.
So they're just trying to bring a bunch of.
And they
Oakland
have,
people to
they have the
Vegas?
Golden Knights, have NHL.
Okay.
And it's only going to be a matter of time before they pick up an NBA team. I mean, I feel like on the next expansion.
Man, that's crazy. They got Oakland Raiders and. Dang, that's crazy. I wonder what's the interest. Just it's easy to buy out Oakland, I guess.
I think both of those stadiums were in shambles.
Yeah.
And I think it was just an easy kind of win for them. I don't know. I'm not a massive sports guy, but
yeah.
Nor am I a developer by any means. But Vegas is definitely attractive to people. When you look at it's already obviously built on tourism, right?
Yeah.
And so you're looking at let's just say let's say AFC teams, right? So let's say you're a Denver Broncos fan,
Okay.
right? And the Broncos are playing the Raiders in Vegas. On a Sunday,
Yeah.
right? Like, why wouldn't you? It's an easy flight to Vegas to go and
why
gamble all weekend and then go
why
to the
would you
game.
go stay for a few extra nights?
Right.
Makes
Like
sense.
instead of going to a certain different team.
Yeah, that is true. Like Vegas, you're more likely to stay longer there than if I go to an Arizona Cardinal game.
Exactly.
That's actually a really interesting point.
And I think the hotel recognized it okay, so more hotel stays, more nights gambling,
Yeah.
more time spending in our casinos outside of when they're going to go off to the actual stadium itself.
Yeah, the way that the casinos think, I think is real funny. The no windows anywhere, free drinks. Like they love giving you free drinks to get you drunk playing more.
Well, the window thinks like you don't jump out, right? One of those things.
No, it's just so you don't know what time it is.
In the casino, right? It's like, yeah, there's not a lot of they don't want you to know how much time has passed.
Yeah.
Funny.
Which is crazy because time passes fast there.
Yeah, for sure. I tell people and it's pretty well known, especially if it's your first time in Vegas, I wouldn't stay longer than 72 hours. Because it's just sensory overload, dude.
Yeah, that makes
damn,
sense.
That's crazy.
And you're not going to sleep, and you're just going to be running on,
So high school is pretty fun in Vegas?
I mean, it was, like I said, it was just kind of normal. It wasn't
That's so. It's just normal to you though, but it's so different to how we had high school. Have you seen Varsity Blues? Maybe
I did see Varsity Blues.
that's very similar, how high school is for us. Not that extreme.
Sure.
Bump it up a little bit to how Midland is, but that's kind of high school for us versus.
So I spent about 6 months in Houston when I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
I relocated to Houston. And that's when was my first taste of, I didn't like Texas football, right? And high school football and stuff like that. And so when I went to this high school in Houston, I was just I was overwhelmed because I was going first of all, everybody looked like they were full grown adults. You know what I mean? I was like, holy moly, what's happening in Texas here? The humidity was the worst. That was,
it's really bad. It's really bad in San Antonio. It's probably the worst.
Yeah. I was like, I'm good there. But I understood that aspect of just very sports related, football related. I think at that time, again, when I was growing up, there were zero, the only sports team was, UNLV Rebels and,
and high school sports is not as prominent.
I would say the high school that I went to, it was wrestling was the number one.
Oh,
that's funny. That's sick.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a real wrestling team at Midland High.
We never did.
Okay. Yeah. I from it was just kind of normal high school. It wasn't any sort of certain.
Did you live?
Nothing was really dominating.
How downtown Vegas was your school? Obviously it wasn't real downtown, but
No,
how?
I was up so Vegas just from a landscape perspective, right? Vegas is in a valley, right?
Okay, yeah.
So you're surrounded by mountains, and so my high school was up towards the mountain side. It was up by the Mormon temple, so I went to school like a lot of Mormons.
Okay.
I didn't live anywhere near the downtown or the Strip.
Okay. For just a typical suburban neighborhood.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's really funny.
But but at the same time, when the internet, again, I'm old, guys. I'm much older than you two, but when the internet was just coming about and chat rooms and stuff like that, and so I'd be like, oh, I'm from Las Vegas, and people just assumed that they were like, oh, do you live at the Circus? And I'm like, No, there's houses here.
It's so funny. Like that's kind of the
People live in houses.
It's a 180 though with Texas. Like I went to California. My dad's best friend's from California, and as a kid we went and visited them, and they're like, "Do y'all ride horses to school?"
Sure.
And we're like, "No, we don't own a horse."
Right.
Like it's the same. It's just so like same thing. You live in California, you're like you probably surf every day.
Right.
So funny.
Yeah, I was like, I don't live at a casino. That's weird. No.
Like Canadians, you just drink maple syrup all day.
I'm also Canadian. So yeah,
really?
I am. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, that's fire, man.
So I was born outside of Toronto.
Really?
But I moved to Vegas when I was like 3. So
your parents born and raised in Canada?
My mom. Yeah. My dad's American, but yeah, my mom's Canadian.
Oh, that's sick, man.
So how'd they meet if they lived in different countries?
My dad was a musician, and he was just
Fire.
traveling through. Yeah. So my dad's in the music business.
Charmin?
Sorry?
He's a Charmin man?
What does that mean?
Charmin.
Oh, charming. Oh, yeah, I would say so. Yeah. So yeah.
He sounds like a musician. Not a Canadian.
He's a lead singer of a few bands.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up with a musician dad?
I didn't know him.
Oh, you didn't know him?
Oh, Spider-Man kind of vibes.
I only met him. I only
So
found
not
out he was my
charming, you
dad
could
like
say.
3 years ago.
What?
What?
So
Yeah.
not very charming. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I didn't know him. Like he didn't know I existed either. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's
What?
interesting. So you grew up without a dad most of your life?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, that's
So
interesting.
just my mom, and then I have a brother and sister. Like my mom had them when I was like a teenager. So
Oh, only child
pretty much
with
yeah.
a mom? Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out all my single moms out here.
Shout out. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, they're the. I have all the respect for single moms, man. It's
That's
tough. It's
tough. Tough. That's cool. Do you think that because I was really close to my mom growing up too, and do you think like that shapes personalities a little bit for people growing up?
I mean, I think it will definitely show you, strength and let you be gracious for what you have.
Okay.
I think, there was a time when I was growing up just kind of wishing that I was like, I didn't know how to do certain things. Like I didn't know how to, no one taught me how to like shave
Change
my
a tire.
face or
Yeah.
change a tire or, you know what I mean? Like,
And that was before YouTube.
yeah, I didn't have YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you learn those kind of things?
Just through like friends and, just your community or,
A few friends' dads too.
yeah,
That's
things like
cool.
that. Yeah.
Is
My
there
best
guilt
friend,
or shame in that, or like you were just like, I get it. This is what I got to do to learn it, or
I think it was just this aspect of like, I didn't have any resentment by any means.
That's good.
I wasn't just like, oh, I don't have a dad. So I was,
It was just life.
yeah, you have what you have and you don't have what you don't have, right? Like I
Yeah.
was just going like, I don't know.
But you're
that
able to
side of
look
it.
back on it differently. Like, it's
I think
funny
it's-
as you get older, and you already said like you've lived more life, so your perception is probably a little differently. But I think it's so funny looking back and be like, the way I used to think was so wrong,
Sure.
And like, wow, this happened in my life because of this.
Yeah, it definitely shapes you. You know what I mean? I think you can just like be more resilient. It just depends. It really just depends on your upbringing, right? Like my mom was very much just like, just follow the rules. You know what I mean? Like don't go crazy. Like there's times where I'm just like, man, I'm glad that I had a bit of a self-conscious and, because I could have gotten a ton more trouble growing up in Vegas.
oh snap.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the other side of it is that, I was married. I'm married now, but I was married before, and I got married at like 19.
Okay.
And so there's two ways of thoughts there. Like I wasn't a single guy in my 20s in Vegas, right?
That's like the best time to be in Vegas too.
But I also know a lot of people still to this day that like that it kind of was a downfall to their
It shaped them into like who they are in their 40s.
yes. For sure.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, life works weird.
So I'm totally fine with not having, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
being like out and about in the clubs and everything,
That's
7 days a
funny.
week.
yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm living in my bubble.
When you lived in Vegas and you had to figure out all the news and stuff because that was your job, how did you do that?
I mean, you have just every hotel is giving you information. Every,
A lot of phone calls.
a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. You know what I mean? Like our Vegas.com, if you don't know, is essentially like Expedia, but just for Vegas, right? And so you're buying your flights, you're buying your hotel rooms, you're buying your show tickets, you're buying your tours. But for me, and again, when I started there, social media was like almost like I created their Twitter account.
That's
Whoa,
so
that's
funny.
crazy.
What year was this, you
This
think?
is like 07.
That's
What?
crazy.
Okay. So,
Crazy.
social media just wasn't really a thing to the extent that it is now. Right. And so it would just be like, hey, we're getting so-and-so. Oh, so-and-so restaurant is opening, and okay, I'm gonna go down there and tweet and take photos. I mean,
That's
video
cool.
wasn't even like massive yet, right?
That's
so it
cool.
was just like tweeting about it, taking photos, But
What
like,
did people think about this, Shaw? Was it very foreign to some people at the time?
do social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a thing yet.
Were people like, that's not gonna work long? Find a real job.
I think like
Did you ever
Twitter
get
especially, it was just kind of like, okay, you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
It's but just like any social network, the majority of people that use it are just consumers, and then it takes the marketers really to like take it to the next level. Otherwise, people are just going to like. I remember my first tweet like ever, right? It was literally the tweet said, "Waiting to get my hair cut," right?
Wow.
And so you're sitting there going like, okay, well, how boring. If everybody's just talking about boring stuff all the time, it's not going to do much. It takes actual marketing and marketers to figure out like, how do we use this for like an actual,
Wow.
sales.
How long do you
perspective.
think that took for Twitter to start rolling around?
I think it took a few years.
Because Facebook was around before that, and then before that you had
MySpace.
MySpace.
But Facebook was for colleges only,
Yes.
right? Like you had to your email address had to
That's
be.
funny. I only know
college
this
email
because
address.
of Social Network.
Oh right,
Because I didn't live it.
right.
Because that was in what, 2000, early 2000s, 2004,
It was
2005?
early
probably?
2000s. I didn't even have because I didn't go to college, so I didn't have a Facebook.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Right. I started, but at the same time, like I was probably Vegas.com and a bunch of other companies. I probably was advertising on Facebook within the first couple weeks that you could advertise on Facebook. Because they just whitelisted us in because they were like,
Yeah.
you spend so much money on Google, we definitely want you to be advertising with Facebook. Because we would spend millions of dollars on
Here's
Google
a really
ads.
good question. What was your first ever email chain? Was it Yahoo, Google, Outlook?
Probably Yahoo.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You do
Probably
strike me as a
Yahoo.
Yahoo guy.
My
Because
friend.
Yahoo was the shit in the beginning, right?
I mean, yeah, it was the search engine, right? Like Yahoo Mail was great.
That's so funny.
A friend of mine told me that they had an AOL account. I don't remember using AOL at all, to be honest with you.
My stepdad still has an Outlook.com email.
Hey, do your homework.
That's so
Legend.
funny.
That's a legend.
I'm
That
Outlook.com, bro. That's me. Do your homework.
Your Outlook?
Yeah, I'm Outlook, bro.
That's so. I just think it's so funny.
I'm a Gmail guy all day.
Yeah, I'm Gmail too. I have so many emails accounts. Bet you have a decent amount too with all your channels.
I mean, I have 20 plus years of email addresses. So
Oh, yeah, that's
I'm a grandpa on this game,
Library
dude.
account. Yeah.
yeah. Library account. He's like
Yeah.
getting passwords. Okay, but a good question I really wanted to ask you
Sure.
too. This was first on my notes, so like I said, we just shoot the shit around here. It's
Hey man, I love the format here, man. I think a lot of the podcasting I do is very like structured, and I
Yeah.
can always appreciate. We're just like, no, we're just having conversations. That's cool.
Yeah. But as the podcast guy in Midland,
Okay.
round of applause again. Woo! But what's your favorite podcast? Like, go to if you were to listen to a podcast.
I don't get to consume as many podcasts these days, but I think Your Mom's House is probably one of my favorites.
Fire.
Fire, classic too.
That I've followed for numerous years. I like
Mama Jeans.
yeah, I like gosh, what's his name now? It's gonna
Tom Segura.
yeah, but there's another comedian that I like. It's Take Your Shoes Off.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah, it's a
sounds
comedian
like
named
very
Rick.
Give it a goog.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but he's another stand-up. He's done a number of things, but it's just it's a podcast.
Was it Rick Glassman?
Rick Glassman, yeah.
Yeah, do your homework. Yeah.
I
love this podcast.
I think his podcast is one of the most unique in terms of he uses a lot of like animation
Dude, yeah,
That's cool.
I need to show you.
and
Yeah.
sound effects.
Amazing.
And again, it's like here's the thing. The stand-up comedian podcast is obviously like one of the most famous ones. Obviously, Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
like put that on the map.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people have to understand, especially when they're starting podcasts, is you're not famous already, right? Stand-up comics, they already have a built-in base because they travel so much. It's their job to travel. It's their job to, like be in front of,
Crowd control. a little
thousands
bit.
of people
Yeah.
at any given time. And so, for them to just foray into podcasting was a no-brainer, especially in the pandemic, because they
Yeah.
couldn't tour anymore, right? So I was like, oh, yeah, duh, podcasting.
Everybody started podcasting too then.
Yeah, and the longevity of it just doesn't seem right. Like especially when other people do it that are like kind of like just having kind of minimal conversation like how we do, but no structure. Like
Yeah. I rarely listen to the I'm not a like a coaching guy. I'm not like an influencer guy. I don't listen to a lot of like business focused podcasts or mindset things like that. By all means, like I
You're
think
more
that
music,
I think
are
they're
you more of a
great.
music guy?
I think I'm just
Like when you're driving in the car,
sure.
long day, you got an hour and a half car trip.
If I'm doing first of all, if being in Texas is the first time I ever experienced
Road trips.
road trips.
That's so funny.
Like
That's so.
I was sitting there going like, can you drive for like 14 hours and still be in Texas?
Yep.
I was like, okay. So if I'm listening to a podcast at that level, it's literally like going to, a family member's house outside of Dallas or Austin or something like that. But even then, my wife and I were probably just listening to some like true crime stuff or something like that.
Oh,
I'm a big
what's
true
that
crime
guy's
guy.
name? Mr. Ballin?
Oh, I know that guys. Yeah.
Okay.
But like we like Sword and Scale.
Okay, give it a goog.
That's another. This guy's been doing it for probably
What and Scale?
Sword.
Oh, so
Sword
that
and
sounds
Scale.
so fire.
This guy's probably been doing it a decade, man. And,
It's crazy. Like Joe Rogan too has been doing it for. 12
I think he's from
something
Texas
years.
too. Yeah, I think this guy's from Texas.
Wow.
Obviously,
is it
like-
a podcast?
It's a podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's
crime podcast.
forayed into a lot of other things now, but I mean, primarily audio.
That's really
podcast.
cool.
Oh, he did a Tiger Belly appearance? Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
a great podcast in terms of like true crime. I mean, there's just so many podcasts, but I just don't get a chance to listen to many, like, religiously, I guess.
True, but you also edit like a decent amount of podcasts.
I edit them all.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, but you edit so many of podcasts, so it's like, why you're gonna leave work editing podcasts all day and get in your car and listen to a podcast?
Yeah, I used to make the analogy like, let's just say your favorite, you love Taco Bell, right? It's your favorite food. You've been eating it, every time. You could eat it 7 days a week. And all of a sudden you get a job at Taco Bell and you kind of see how it's made and you kind of see behind the scenes and you come home smelling like Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be that delicious anymore? I wouldn't say it's ruined it by any means, but it's just like, sometimes I'm just going like, yeah.
Great analogy.
I'm a YouTube guy through and through. Like I'll spend more time on YouTube than anything.
Boom! That's what I'm a meals ready.
Okay.
Look up a YouTube video.
Yeah, I probably spend the most time like from a media consumption. It's all YouTube for me.
Nice. That's what like how I grew up.
Sure.
Mainly was watching YouTubers.
Right.
David Dobrik's, those
Sure,
kind of guys.
sure.
Like that was like my idols as a kid.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit aged out of that group. Obviously, I know who they are. 'Cause I
Yeah.
have to I have to stay abreast of like who's out there. But like, I didn't grow up with a Mr. Beast by any means. Right? I just know that he's
The
clearly
He's the
clearly
goat.
a smart business person.
He's
Right?
the
Is
goat.
Mr. Beast the GOAT?
He's the go of
Of
social
YouTubers?
media.
Yeah, I mean,
He's the go of social media. Period.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Have you watched Beast Games?
I've been watching it.
It's so good. I
I've been
watched the
watching
first episode the other day. I was like, okay, this is actually fire.
It's the thing for me is like, again, I tell people I'm a marketer. I just happen to own cameras. Okay. I would not like identify me. I'm not a videographer. I'm not a cinematographer by any means.
Oh, it's just on Prime.
I'm a
Amazon
marketing guy.
Prime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amazon Prime. But I just recognize smart marketing at times, right? But like I said, I recognize that like the youth is dominating on YouTube, right? Like my son's 19. For a decade, I was telling him, I was like, listen, man, just let me get you some Lego sets.
Yeah.
Let me film this stuff. Let's put it out there.
You should have.
Dude, that'd be
Like,
baller.
what's the Lego, the Ryan's Toys?
Yeah.
Who's like one of the richest kids ever?
Yeah. I tell my son now, I go, this kid's a billionaire, dude. And he's literally started by
Oh,
putting
I'm gonna
together
force
Lego
my
sets.
kid to do it. Sorry.
Just, I mean, video content, man. It's
Looking back,
worth it.
like if you're a kid and you're like, wow, and you're older and you hate it as a kid, but you're like, wow, I'm rich as shit. And my dad's rich as shit, and all I had to do was play with Legos on camera.
Right.
Wow, my life sucks.
I'd take it. Yeah.
I'd take it.
It's what I would say is it's just a consistency thing, right? Like one, I mean, passion is a whole lot of it,
Yeah.
but passion's only going to take you so far. You really just have to be consistent with it. This is why I give it up to like a Mr. Beast, man, where I'm sitting there going, this guy's just been producing for a decade.
He was born
Yeah.
to be a
Just
YouTuber.
better part of a decade. He stayed with it, right? He wasn't worried about the number of subscribers. It wasn't a number of views. He's just like, I'm just gonna. He knew that it's gonna come.
Yeah.
He'll get there, right? And it was more about just like learning and strategy.
Yeah. Have you seen his like to me in 5 years videos?
I haven't. No.
So he posted like when he was really young. It'd almost be like me now posting a video and uploading it in 5 years. And like, man, I really hope I'm at 1 million subscribers. Pull it up. Like, and this came out when he was at like 150 million subscribers.
That's
something crazy.
That's still bananas. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't think I've ever watched an entire Mr. Beast video. It's just not for I'm not the demographic. right?
Oh, I watch them.
I'm not Mr. Beast's demographic by any means, right? I just look at it from the perspective of I know
Yeah, go ahead and pause
the
it.
editing style, and I
We're not
know
positive.
how much work goes into
Yeah, you go ahead
thumbnails
and
and
play
stuff
it.
like that. But I'm 46 years old, dude. I'm not Mr. Beast's
Yeah,
prime audience. Obviously, I mean he has over 300 million subscribers, but
crazy
who he's targeting is youth.
kids. Yeah,
kids.
I just really think the way
He has a
thinks,
rinse and
too.
repeat factor there, no?
Yeah, he
Like
does.
how he has to retain.
And he
that.
went and he made like Mr. Beast and Espanol channels.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then he
that's
uploaded all
baller,
his
dude.
videos. Then he made a Mr. Beast in French. So he has like so many channels
I
with
wonder
over
that
10 million
should
subscribers.
everyone do something like that? Like who has a channel? Like
I don't
should
know
be
if people
marketing that way?
videos are that like Mr. Beast knows thumbnails. He knows all that. Like I don't think anybody could get
Like
you.
put
to
it this way, like, and again, this is all assumptions, right? Like clearly I don't know Jimmy, but I always look at it from the podcast perspective, right? When you look at like comedians' podcasts, right, and you look at their guests, they're all their friends,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, let me help you. Come on my podcast. Joe Rogan he's created this medium of
Yeah.
like, let me help you, and then all of a sudden now you have a podcast, great, and you know what I mean? It's sort of rinse and repeat there. So my assumption is that the larger YouTubers are in the same sort of circles, right? It's like, okay, how do we learn from each other?
They
What
kind
did-
of are. You're
what
right.
did you do that crushed? Okay, cool. Let me
I think,
let me
I
take that
think
into
you're right. The
consideration.
Logan Pauls and David Dobrik. I think all those guys.
Yeah, I
But-
think being in that area, like, with Dobrik and all these guys, like, I think just LA is just a haven for
YouTube.
YouTube or just,
crazy.
content creation,
Yeah.
right?
How-
I mean, you're outside of Hollywood.
That
right?
was like
So,
when I was a kid. What do you want to be grow up? Was either NFL player or YouTuber.
Yeah.
Always.
Sure, I could see that.
And I probably wasn't gonna make it in the NFL.
And most people aren't gonna make either. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not gonna be either.
Sucks.
Which would really sucks, yeah.
Yeah. Not even just go be an accountant. But hey, shout out to being an accountant. Nothing wrong with being an
Not
accountant.
at all, man. You're providing a service. That's how I look at it. What I'm doing, man. I'm like, I don't claim to be. I'm not a. Listen, I don't have a course. I don't have a book. I'm not a coach. I'm just providing a service. I just recognized when I got to Midland, Texas, I didn't know anything about Midland, Texas.
Yeah.
My wife's from Midland, Texas.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is why we ended up here, right? She wanted to be closer to family and help take care of her mom and stuff like that. And I was
Awesome.
like, okay, cool. I'll move to Midland, Texas. And I didn't have a job. I didn't really have any prospects. I had some, freelance clients from back in Vegas. But I'm a marketer, right? I'm a digital marketer. And I was like, I can do a lot. I can do 20 different things in marketing.
Yeah.
I just said, all right, I'll just try to fill a need here. And I just quickly realized, I mean, within a week, I was sitting there going, like, oh, okay, this place is behind in terms
Yeah.
of digital marketing.
Okay.
Right? I didn't know a thing about the oil and gas industry. I literally was like, oh, oil for your car and gas for your car. Okay, that makes sense. And so I was just like, oh, but wait, you don't have a website? Oh, wait, you don't have a social media presence? Oh, wait,
Okay.
you don't have any video content? Oh, wait, you know what I mean? You
So
don't.
that's what it originally started as?
40 Wolves was just a marketing
Okay.
agency. And it was literally just me going like, I will find clients and help them in
Okay.
whatever facet that I can. It was about a year of doing that I was sitting there going like, yeah, can I build websites? Yes. Can I do SEO? Yes. Am I super passionate about it? No, not really.
Okay.
I just know how to do it. I think what I recognized was in sort of like working with small business owners and entrepreneurs that I was like, okay, most of these businesses here that are not oil and gas per se are going to live and die by their Instagram account.
Okay. Yeah.
True.
Right. Like, and I didn't know obviously this town is built on entrepreneurs, right? Like the oil and gas industry is literally like,
It's built off. It's
it's
off.
a gamble. It's a risk.
I mean, that's what I do for work is
okay.
the people in Midland whose family are dumb rich. It's because their grandpa went out and bought oil for $20 and then it was just
Just made it. Right.
wheeling and
Yeah.
dealing. And
Right.
then now they're the richest people in town.
And so what I kind of was going like, I was like, all right, well, hey, maybe you need help with a website. Maybe you need help with, or maybe you have a website, but you don't know how to get traffic to it, right? So it doesn't really help you at all. So what happened was and my wife and I, we like to shop, small. We like to support local businesses. Like I'm not a big like chain guy, right? Like I'm not eating at Applebee's.
Really? You're not an Amazon guy?
I mean, that's hard to get
Okay.
away from
Yeah.
Amazon.
I'm an Amazon.
But in terms of like your local community, right? Like, I mean, if we have an opportunity to go and shop at a
That's
local
awesome.
business, we definitely will and support. But I was sitting there going like, well, what if I could just create a directory of locally owned businesses, right?
Okay.
So that's why we started Best of Midland.
Okay, to interview.
No, it had nothing to do with any sort of podcast.
Okay.
It was a website and still is where you as a business owner can create a free account and put your business on the directory. You just choose your category, you put all your information, because literally a lot of these businesses that I would see, they wouldn't even have a Google business profile.
Wow.
Right? I'm saying, like, how are people going to find you other than you hope that
And
they follow your
that's
Instagram
insane
account?
to you. You're like, wow, that's
Exactly. I'm sitting there going like, I mean, that's the bare minimum,
that's so funny.
right? And so I was like, all right, well, here's the thing. I mean, I'll build a directory and, you know, an events calendar, you know, sort of spawned into multiple things. But as a social media guy through and through, and recognizing, like, at that point, after, you know, pre-pandemic, after pandemic, whatever, video's king.
Yeah.
Right. So I was going like, well, listen, I don't want to go to the local restaurant. I don't want to go to like what I used to do in Vegas and be like, hey guys, we're at and all the food and stuff like that. I was just like, why don't we just start a podcast?
Okay.
And then my wife was like, okay, well, what kind of podcast? And I was like, why don't we just interview all of these business owners?
Awesome.
Right.
That's
and so, and a lot of it was, again, like, I'm not from here. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm very outgoing. And I was just like, listen, I get to meet people. This is the easy. I don't like to go to networking events. I don't like to go to mixers. I don't like little small talk and be like, hi, what do you do? And exchange business cards and stuff. I was like, why don't you come on your podcast?
Shooting the shit.
You get to promote your business and talk about your business. I might find more about your business and you kind of have to tell me all about it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't so I could sell you something. It was literally to just go like, okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming, man. And I'll probably see you at HEB sometime and I might see you around. And, you know, it was just more or less a way to get my face out there and my name out there and provide some value to
Win-win.
people. Yeah. And, you know, obviously I wanted to be a YouTuber and a travel YouTuber and you know, and all these things. But here's the thing about being a travel YouTuber. You got to travel.
So expensive.
And you got to have the money to travel.
So expensive.
Right. And so
I've gone to LA, Florida, Austin for podcasts. Oh, it's so worth it. And it's like,
sure.
You like when it uploads and it succeeds like it's supposed to, but then you're like, when all the bills come, you're
right.
like,
podcasting, you know, it's a lot easier than having a travel YouTube channel or a, you know,
maybe I don't
fill
know.
in the blank
I don't even
YouTube
know
channel.
necessarily because you have to think like Casey Neistat was traveling. I guess maybe where you're traveling to is more expensive, but if you're traveling for a podcast all the time to go interview people, it's the same thing as being a travel or YouTuber.
I
but
mean,
the equipment for podcasting might be more expensive.
I mean, you're in a different scenario, whereas like you're traveling to interview people.
Yeah.
Right? Versus people traveling to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like coming to you.
True.
Right? So I can see it both ways. But yeah, if you're traveling to people at that point, kudos, because I am just not a fan of remote style podcasts.
Yeah. I bring a lot of my equipment.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a testament to you. Like they're just not for me.
Okay.
Right? And I think I'm very big on production value.
Okay.
Right. I'm sitting there going like, yes, of course.
So if you click onto a YouTube video, it almost drive you crazy a little bit if the camera's a little like tilted.
Those things I can obviously.
It's just like,
obviously I'm going to like overanalyze a lot of stuff because I'm an editor too, so I can kind of like cue on those that most people can't. But I'm saying like there's no way I'm going to be consistently subscribed to a podcast, and I'll say YouTube, right? Podcast that it's
a different background.
That it's a
time.
Zoom call or something.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not into that either.
That's
Zoom
what I'm
calls.
saying. That's when I say remote style, I'm saying like.
Oh yeah, that is what remote.
The host
style
is in one place and the guest.
Yeah, I've
is
never
in
done.
place. Like,
I've never.
They're just not for me.
That's been my goal, is to never do one.
And
that's why I would rather go fly. I'd rather go talk to you in person.
I'd rather do the same too. So I'm sitting there going, I'm not a fan of them. I understand that they have their place, especially in a place like Midland or a smaller town, because you know you're just going to be there's a ceiling to the amount of guests.
Yeah.
Or the level of guests that you're going to have versus like, you know, if you have an entrepreneur podcast or a business style podcast, you're going to have potential guests from all over the country or the world, right? So remote style might be the best option for you versus, you know, if you're like, we called it Best of Midland, Texas, because I'm not sitting there going like, yeah, I'm not going to be interviewing people from around the world. I'm not going to be interviewing people from all these places. It's called Best of Midland, Texas.
That makes sense. That's awesome.
I mean? But I did it for a very specific reason. I wasn't trying to create a nationwide, worldwide, global sensation podcast by any means. I wouldn't be. I would have a completely different.
Yeah. Has it mass succeeded what you thought it'd be though?
It definitely has. I would say that like
it's doing pretty freaking well.
I do all right.
Not pretty, really. It's doing really well.
I do. I'm very grateful for what we've done. I honestly wish I could produce more. I just now have so many podcast clients that it's hard for me to produce my own.
Yeah.
So I get kind of like jealous sometimes, where I'm just like, man, remember when we were just podcasting? We were just doing the podcast just for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it has a whole like monetization and it has all these other things around it. But I'm still, you know, I'm just so passionate about podcasting. I couldn't really see myself doing.
So you said you're gonna move over to the new ATEM, the big bad boy. Is that what you had said earlier? Did you?
Yeah, the Extreme.
The Extreme.
Yeah.
The mothership board.
I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, obviously there's massive ones that like, for live, I don't do any live production by any means. But honestly, had I known better, like I'm like, again, I'm not an expert in any of these. I'm not an audio expert. I'm not a video expert. I'm just a guy who's like, I love gadgets.
Oh, me too.
And I'm very passionate about this stuff. So had I known a little bit more, had I done a little bit more research, I would have just bought the Extreme from the get-go.
What about the Extreme? Is it the 2 USB ports?
It's the 2 USBs.
Is that for the remote?
And the 2 HDMI out. It is for remote. So I do have a certain number of clients that are like, we want to do remote style. And by all means, like they need to. But of course, then you need to use some software. And so, I still want to be able to record everything to an SSD while still, so the 2 USB out and the 2 HDMI out would be a game changer.
What'd you use for the 2 HDMI outs?
So unlike the studio that we're in here, I'm typically in a different room.
Yeah.
Right. And so I need to be able to see obviously the program and all the views, but
for them to
they want to be able to see it too, or to be able to like, pull up a website.
Because you use 4 cameras
I use three
yeah.
typically, but I have a fourth that, in a
so you could do so yeah, that's what you need the extra HDMI for. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's by no means, it's not because I need 4 more cameras hooked up to them.
Yeah.
I don't need, I'm not going to have an 8-camera podcast setup.
God. Could you imagine?
That is, I mean, somebody would have to pay me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like for somebody who has the money and who has the community, okay, we can probably find a way.
Does it have more mic inputs?
It doesn't have any.
Really? How do you input for mics for the ATEM, that Extreme?
The same way you do now, which is just a line in.
Oh, so but it still has 2 like that one?
Yeah, it still has 2 line
Oh,
ins,
okay.
yeah.
So it doesn't have any more?
I don't do anything with audio through the ATEM. I'm assuming you don't either since you have the Rodecaster, but
yeah,
it's more or less just a sync stuff.
Yeah, that's really what I use it for, to sync up.
Have you seen the new Rode?
I have not.
The new Rode switcher?
Give it a goog. Is it sweet?
My friend has it, and I think the jury's still out.
I have the one, I think, right? I think I got the babier one.
The Rodecaster Video. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's essentially an ATEM, same inputs. It might have, same inputs. I think 2 are, it's basically a baby of an ATEM and a Rodecaster. But the interesting thing about this one, and my friend is still saying, like, it has auto switching built in.
What?
Yeah.
Like with AI, how would it do that? Or does it use it via motion? Like how would it even?
So it has 2 XLR inputs.
Okay.
So again, if you for me, I rarely have just 2 mics.
Yeah,
I have 3 to 4 at a time. But let's just say, for example, obviously it's just you and me. Then it's just going to camera switch based on whoever's talking in that moment.
Oh, that's baller, man.
That's sick.
Automatically. So
that's pretty sweet.
It's also $1,200. So I'm sitting there going like, I could get the Extreme.
But something like that for you could almost be worth it.
Not for me because of the XLRs. If it had 4 XLRs, then.
But I mean, if you ever did get a room, like, because you upgraded your studio since I've seen it last, correct?
Yeah, we're at 2nd story now.
Nice.
Yeah.
But if you ever had like a specific, like just a 2-person room or something, maybe having something like that separately, where like you don't even have to worry about it and it auto records it.
I would say that like so for the people that are like want to start a podcast studio, right? Here's what I'll say, because I don't know that I'm doing it in the typical way. Okay. The typical way I would say right now, and I'm in a private group of podcast studio owners in the country or in the world actually. And so we share a lot of information.
Cool.
I'm probably an outlier to where most podcast studios are basically like, they're just charging for you to come in and record.
Yeah, not do the editing. Yeah.
And that's all they're doing, right? And it's like, hey, it's the money, you bring in an SSD or we'll just transfer you the file.
Do they do a lot of live cam switching?
Live switching, yes, primarily. I don't do any live switching.
Yeah.
I have ADD. I don't have the time for
it. You typically edit while they record?
I'll be editing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would say,
dude.
I think there is a world where, let's say you had that video switcher, right? You could have that sort of like autonomous studio where it's like, hey, we're going to come, you're going to come in, we're going to show you how to basically hit record.
Yeah.
Right. And sit down. And they don't even really have to be there.
Yeah.
Right? And then if it's auto switching, that, and it's good, then it's like, here's the file on an SSD, you bring in an SSD and it's like, boom, see you later. Yeah. It's almost like an Airbnb of
But it'd be pointless for you because how you edit.
It wouldn't be pointless. I just think that like there is a world for it, but for me, the value that I'm bringing at having a podcast studio in a place like Midland, again, I'm not in LA or Chicago or New York or.
You don't need that business layer on your.
I need I need the business layer. Okay. I need this layer of like, if put it this way, if I just charge people to just come in and record and then go, here's your files, you go figure it out.
No one do.
I'd have no clients.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why I record and I edit and I do the distribution.
Oh, okay.
Oh snap.
And I do the social media clips.
Baller.
And I write articles.
For that channel or for that pod or whatever?
Yeah.
Whoa, snap.
So if you're working with me, like I do have a model of if you just want a
different packages,
basic recording, and I'll do a basic edit, no visuals, no nothing like that, then boom, okay, that's a flat fee. But that's a few people. Yeah. The majority of the people are like, okay, we're doing 2 episodes a month. I'm recording. I'm doing a full edit. I'm creating social media clips. I'm pushing it out to YouTube and Spotify and Apple. I'm writing an article or 2 sometimes. You know, I'm doing basically everything but posting for them on social media and hosting their podcast for them. Right.
Okay.
But I think that like in a place like this, where I think it's so new to people, especially the value of podcasting, you kind of have to go above and beyond because like I've had people who are like, I don't know how to create a YouTube channel or create a Spotify account or create, you know what I mean? And so like,
I just got on Spotify like 3 weeks ago.
Congrats.
I know.
Give yourself an applause.
Woo, yeah!
All right.
Apple Music takes forever. Do you use Buzzsprout or do you use a different software?
I use Spotify directly.
Oh, you just goes directly on Spotify? Maybe do you have to pay for that?
It's free.
What the hell?
Those Buzzsprouts and all those stuff, I'm not a fan of them. You can literally create a Spotify creators account. Okay. Which by having a Spotify creators account, you know, when you upload to Spotify, then you can have video as well.
Oh shit! Is that how you do it?
All those Buzzsprouts and everything, they don't have video components.
They don't,
because it's all RSS.
And I'm paying for it.
Yeah, don't pay for it.
You have to pay for Apple?
No, it's free.
I should have went to you first. The one time I don't go to the I always ask you like I just literally went to Buzzsprout.
Like my process is, I take the video file, I upload it to YouTube. YouTube's first and foremost for everything I do. Yeah. I'm bullish on YouTube. Honestly, I don't even care about Spotify and Apple.
First come, first serve there.
I think Spotify is just cool for me. That's why I like it.
I think it's totally fine. I'm sitting there going like, it's just like it's like posting on social media, right? It's like, if I have this social media clip, are you saying I only post to Instagram and that's it? I refuse to post anywhere else? No, you go like, well, TikTok, you could post in 12 different places if you wanted to. Yeah. It's just a matter of how much time do you have, right? But like, it's the same file. So post on TikTok. Well, TikTok until tomorrow? But post on TikTok and Threads and I mean, I would post on Pinterest if I had the time to post. I mean, post everywhere. Yeah. Right. It's just a time suck. But going back, I was like, yeah, create a Spotify creators account, and then you can sync your Apple. And then so I post to YouTube, I upload it to YouTube. Then I take that same file, I upload it to Spotify, which then pushes to Apple.
And it does it automatically.
Do you think in those kind of moments though, when like you don't know this kind of information, it'd help if you had some more team members that would do it for you kind of thing, or is that the wrong way to push it? Maybe,
but I mean, I honestly probably should have just asked you first, honestly.
I mean, I do answer a lot of people's questions, but again, I always with the caveat of I'm just a guy doing this. Yeah. Right. I don't have a team. If I could have a team, I would have a team. Yeah. Okay. Like if I could just sit down in front of the microphone and just be the host and be the talent and not have any clue what happens behind the scenes when it turns off, I guess, but I'm not in that position.
Would you be able to do that?
Probably not, because I'm a strategist one way or the other. So I'd be like, no, I need to know everything that's happening. Yeah. I just don't. I mean, I only have so many hours in the day.
Would you go if, like, let's say one of these big, your mom's house hits you up or something like, wow, we love the way you produce your stuff. You want to come produce for us full time? Would that be something you'd be interested in? Or
yeah, I do that.
You do it?
Yeah.
Hey,
like here's the thing.
You absolutely could do it.
I am a entrepreneur by necessity. Yeah. Okay. Like I am not one of those entrepreneurs on Instagram that's just like, I'm in the grind and I'm doing like, I don't make these videos that are about me in the grind. Okay. Right? I'm 46. I'm not trying to be, this sleeping on my mom's couch because I just got to grind. Like I'm all for
your back might hurt the next day if you sleep on the couch.
Like do that grind, right? Yeah. I'm just in a different stage of my life. Like I'm an entrepreneur by necessity. This is the first business I have ever owned myself. And and honestly, I don't love it.
Really? Yeah. It deals with more stress?
It's a lot of stress. Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways, right? Like I came from, this VP of marketing in different companies and 6-figure salaries and all this stuff. And that does obviously come with a lot of stress too. And working for somebody else. And, you know, the company that I worked before I got here, the reason why I'm even here is because that company went under for some very nefarious reasons.
Oh, dang.
And or I was like, oh, you know those stock options and everything you had? Oh, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. Right.
Oh, man.
And so,
that's awesome.
you know, when I was just like, all right, well, I'll just start my own thing. A lot of it was just because, you know what? I don't want to build somebody else's dream again to only get kind of screwed over. So, but at the same time, I'm used to working in teams and I'm used to working with, you know, other people that are like-minded and having a feedback loop. When I'm working for myself, you know, obviously my wife's in the company, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, I don't have the ability all the time to go like, hey, what do you think about that? Or, oh, what is your idea on that? It's just kind of like, it's all in here or not.
It just works.
Yeah. Right. And so, you know, like there's a world where I'm like, yeah, I would, you know, potentially go back to, I guess, a 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it. It would just have to be for very specific reasons.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you got to compensate well too.
No, because like really, like when you talk to these 9 to 5ers who are like outside looking in on some of the content, it's just night and day differences on how they feel. Yeah. They think about it.
Don't get me wrong. Like okay, like there's the perks of like, I don't have to file for PTO or, you know, I don't have to ask my boss like, hey, can I have this time off? But essentially I like, again, I'm not I don't have an MBA. Okay. I'm not some genius at business. Okay. When I'm not working, I'm not making money. So if I go take a 2-week vacation, it's not like I'm
human just as you are, right? Kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's just, you know, so I would just like, I'd like to be fully transparent. I don't like to give off a sense of like, yeah, I'm just like this like ultra successful entrepreneur and stuff. I'm just doing what I love doing this. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not trying to portray this aspect of like, I've got it all figured out. Yeah. It's all trial and error for me, man. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Which I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is they think they have it figured out at such a younger stage. And it's like, stick here, stick here, stick here.
My toxic trait is, speaking of how Amazon earlier, I'd be like, hey, podcast is done. I can stop spending money. I can chill for a minute. Then I literally like find one thing. I'm like, oh, need this now. Like I order shit from my mom would even attest. Like I get a package every other day at the house.
My garage is filled with stuff I'm just not using anymore, or I'm just like.
I mean, look, I extra my old ATEM over there.
Yeah, I remember when I met you. Yeah, you were like, you didn't have the ISO?
No, yeah, he used to live cam switch.
Yeah, I used to do this shit.
So now I have all the layers.
Right. Yeah, and I'll be real, like. Without certain software and stuff like that, I couldn't even open up a podcast studio because I started editing podcasts for people right in the pandemic that they would have like remote style. They were back in Vegas or something. And I'm saying like the amount of time that it took to edit and it looked, you know, pretty decent is what I'd have to charge them. And I just knew at some point they were going like, they can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of like, there's a certain level of success that you have to have in this in order to keep spending money and throwing money at it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, but at the same time, I'm sitting there going like, listen, I can't edit your podcast for $50 or something.
Yeah.
Like crazy like that. Right. Because it's taking me so long now with certain hardware. And so even we were doing our podcast for probably a year or close before I even had that idea of a switcher.
Yeah.
Right, like when I first started,
you just record them with multiple cameras.
Yeah, multiple cameras.
Did they ever die randomly, and then you wouldn't know?
Sure.
I used to do that too, and you're like, and then you're post editing, and just someone's camera's cut out for the last 10 minutes.
They have to figure out well, this person's talking, but
I would just
they have to see my stupid face.
If you go back to like my first 4 episodes, there's times because I do split. I'm a little lazy. I'll just do split screen and then do other stuff. It saves me a lot of time.
Sure.
And I also do I do like 3 shows a week too, so it saves me a lot of time.
That's kudos for you, man. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Fuck 10 shows.
And then, so I'll do split screen, and then that saves a shit ton of time.
When we first started the podcast, and again, I only knew what I knew, right? Like I didn't come from the live production world. I didn't come from all this stuff. I was sitting there going like, okay, I need this thing called a Rodecaster and cameras.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, I had a Sony ZV-10 that I bought, and then we just used my wife and I just used our iPhones.
Yeah, that's how I started off too. With iPhones.
And I was using software. I was using Ecamm.
Okay.
Ecamm Live. And so I had a laptop with Ecamm Live so I could at least see
the
inputs, right? But also I was trying to like use the Rodecaster MIDI inputs to live switch the cameras. And I'm telling you what, live switching and hosting a show is not for me.
Done it.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I've done it. It sucks.
That's crazy.
Because there would be times where I just forgot to switch the camera, and literally the guest is talking, but my face is on the screen the whole time, and I'm like, oh, this is a.
And you're just like, you just like you look so dumb post editing, like, because me, I'm not saying you look dumb, but I'll just be there like,
right.
and I'm just like, I look so dumb.
And there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do.
So when I figured out, oh yeah, there's a switcher where it records everything and all the files, and then I have the flexibility of editing.
Yeah.
I just got into that. Like, it's just like I said, I love all the editing. I love recording. I love strategy probably more than anything. And so even for me right now, like I'm trying to get into this mode of like finding help, finding editors that can help me, because I have no shortage of recordings. I probably record, sometimes 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can do more than that, so just physically.
Yeah.
But yeah, the editing can be a time suck, and creating the social media clips. And I listen, I know that there's AI tools, and I know that there's Opus, and I know all these things, but there's a level of like control that you still need to have these things. Like
I've recently,
please.
I've always used Opus, but I have so many built up points for Opus. I didn't want to stop using it because CapCut's is what I've been using for their auto captions have gotten really good. For short form I've been using CapCut to edit everything.
I use CapCut to make my clips. Because I would agree with you. Like, the captioning's very good.
Yeah.
I was honestly nervous because CapCut's owned by TikTok.
Yeah, that's what I'm nervous.
Oh,
Is
really?
it getting banned?
Oh,
that's what I want to talk. That's what you read my mind. I want to talk about the ban in a minute.
So I'm sitting there going like, is CapCut going to shut down on Sunday?
If it did, I'd be more mad than TikTok. But I use CapCut to edit everything, the full pod, because I can use multiple layers. Because you use DaVinci, correct?
I use DaVinci.
Shout out House of Production. He's like, I've been using CapCut too. Recently, like, and he used DaVinci.
I know a bunch of people that are using CapCut to edit their pods for sure. Yeah. I'm just very much in multicam world, and I have tools that will just like
sync it.
Yeah, the syncing. I mean, the color grading of DaVinci's.
I don't even color grade my videos. I don't even know
as long as you have it dialed in. Here's the thing that I'll tell you, right? Like, I'm in a world where I produce. I think last year I produced 153 podcast episodes.
Wow!
Round of applause.
Wow!
That's not what I was hoping for, but I appreciate you guys. For nearly like 24 clients.
Is that way? Well, you weren't hoping for a round of applause?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are very generous with your clapping. I appreciate that. You guys are about, I want to stay humble here, guys. Like, help me stay humble.
153 is a lot, and I respect it, dude. I did like 50. So I did more than an episode.
I want to get my guests to start clapping. You guys are doing it right. You guys are doing it right. But
because I did 50, you did 3 times the amount.
But keep in mind that then it's like, okay, I have to like set the cameras up. Listen, I'm very impressed by what you have going on here, because
that means the world.
You don't have to move the cameras all the time. You don't have to switch the camera settings, right? And so, color grading aside, what I'm getting at is like, once it's dialed in, it's kind of just dialed in. You're not switching the lighting.
It's method, yeah.
Right?
Hit it.
It's rinse and repeat. So good. Like,
hit the green.
The more things that
do your homework.
You introduce, the more things that you have to change ultimately, right? And so, but I love DaVinci, one, because it was free.
Yes.
Right. Now I ultimately upgraded to the studio version, but it was a one-time fee. I've been out of the Adobe world for so long.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna age myself again. I've done this a number of times.
Is DaVinci Adobe?
No, Premiere.
Oh, okay.
So the industry standard is Premiere.
I've used Premiere.
Right. But Adobe, it's a subscription model, and I'm just not a fan of it. Right. But like, I started on like Photoshop 2 as a designer.
Wow.
So you're talking late 90s. It's probably before you guys were born.
So are you still pretty wicked at Photoshop?
I mean, I haven't used Photoshop in a number of years, but yeah, man. I mean, I started as a graphic designer, web designer in like 98.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, but what I was saying about Opus earlier, is so what I've just started doing is I just put in the episode before it drops, and then I just have it auto give me a bunch of clips unedited, so it doesn't edit. It just gives me the full clip of what the AI thinks is a good clip.
Right.
And I'll just watch through it real quick, so I don't have to click through and go through the whole unedited pod, right? So then I'm like, okay, this is perfect. And then I can cut it down a little bit, ratio it, go back and forth, use the captions. So that's what I've been doing
I think I do the same thing. So I use Opus to just find me clips.
Yep.
I don't want it to caption them.
Yeah.
I don't want it to add any sort of bells and whistles, because
it's so shaky back and forth.
I just don't prefer, like, I'm sort of that way where it's like, if I see a Opus clip, I know immediately. I'm like, oh, it's got that blocky font that's yellow, and then it switches to lime green, and then and I'm going like, I'm just out of it at that point, right? Because I'm going like, if you're using the default settings of any program, then you really haven't.
Didn't put much effort.
You're not putting that much effort. You've got to figure out, like, use it to your extent. So I'll use Opus typically to just, okay, find me 2 dozen clips.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll usually pull them into something else and just refine them. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like you're doing it. You're doing it right. I mean, by all means, like, again, it's your level of skill and your level of time. I mean, I know people are like, I don't have the time to figure out how to do clips, but I know I need clips. So
you got to make it happen.
Is you would say the studio is it 40 Wolves approved?
I would say the only thing.
Okay.
Let's go.
No, spit it.
Let's go.
You're almost 40 Wolves approved.
Okay.
Okay. I think you have to ditch the ceiling fan and lights.
Okay.
Because I already know with the lights and the ceiling fan, there's some sort of like
flickering.
That's
well, you want to see what it used to look like?
Please.
Okay, let's do the light. This is what it used to look like.
Yeah, to be honest.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Way worse.
I mean, those lights are definitely needed.
And before this, it was so much worse.
I would say if it were me, okay,
40 Wolves
big
approved.
40 Wolves approved. I would at least, because you don't have a ton of space. I get it. I would at least try to mount a light that's shining down on this. That would like be.
You got should I just take that down and get a new light right
I
there,
would
maybe?
remove the ceiling fan. I get it, the heat and everything like that, but the bulb lighting is not helping you. Okay. I would invest in some like nothing crazy, but maybe some like Adaran or something.
A ceiling mounted light, they do that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I might just have to pay a guy to do it one day.
Or I mean, listen, by all means, set up a light. I mean,
I had the light, so I had the light.
Yeah.
But so I have another show called The Pregame. People are always coming in and out because it's a live show.
So live stands are
and people bump in. That's why I made everything where no one can bump into anything.
I mounted all my lights. Yeah. But you did it differently. You mounted your cameras, which that's
some baller.
That's some game.
That's good stuff. Yeah. That's great.
You think you'd be able to mount your cameras?
No. No,
that sucks.
There are some.
They might have some mounts for it.
Oh, they have mounts for them.
Okay,
but just because of where I am.
Oh yeah, with your setup, yeah.
Right, but there's a guy in Chicago named Tom.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I found out about. We talked about this last time. I think. Go ahead and pull up his channel. What's the channel called?
I don't know what the channel is, but I mean his site is called the Chicago Podcast Studio. But that's how you'll find him on YouTube. So he's coined this term where he called it the mega desk.
Yeah.
So where his setup,
he brings it back and forth.
It's a desk on wheels that has all the ATM, all the stuff, and it has cameras.
What's the name of that again?
Chicago Podcast Studio.
Right there.
Yeah, Tom's. I mean, I've been on his show. We talk all the time. He's a great dude. Super smart guy. Man.
I'm a big fan of his, actually.
He's a super smart guy. But the mega desk scenario where I could totally see moving to that at some point. Just the way that his studio is set up, he can just roll the desk from set to set.
Sick.
And everything's already integrated. And the cameras are on mount like this, right? Like mic mounts.
Yeah.
Or arms. And so he can just go, all right, I can make micro adjustments depending on if it's 2 people or 3 people or whatever. But it's a smart move. I just recognized that like in the space that I had, it wasn't that wasn't.
Is he using the cameras you use?
In his new studio, so he has a second studio now.
Nice.
Where he has like a stage and everything. He's using the Black Magic Studios now. Like he even asked me about them. He goes, "Are these worth getting?" Yeah, they're great.
I wish.
I think he came back to me and was like, I wish like he ran into some issues, but he's working around it. But
they look so good. Like
he wasn't a Black Magic guy, right? He was.
All your
he's a Sony guy.
podcasts look and sound so good.
I appreciate that. But here's the thing with that. It's not the cameras. It's not like I said, we had 2 iPhones before, right? Mm-hmm. It's lighting.
Yeah.
Lighting is key, man. It really is.
How do you feel about those black and white podcasts? Like those Jocko Willicks, that kind of stuff?
I would say, I think Jocko's can do that.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying? Like,
Depends who you are.
I think it's your brand.
Yeah.
Right? Like Jocko's a no nonsense, no frills Navy SEAL, right?
Fire.
For him to have like a bunch of colorful stuff and all this, stuff like that, it just doesn't fit his brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the downfall to a lot of people's thinking. They're just gonna try to copy somebody that's super famous, but it's not about them.
I do that.
It's not about their podcast. It's about the content. It's about their brand. Frankly, like you can think, oh, I'm just going to do Joe Rogan stuff, but you're not Joe Rogan.
He roasts me. That's my mindset with everything.
Yeah.
Is I literally I like this table setup similar to what Joe Rogan does.
I mean, there's only from a layout perspective, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Right. Like I love the table setup. That's how we started.
Yeah. Take what you can gather. Yeah.
And then I moved into more of a living room style.
Yeah.
But again, it was more for the fact that we typically have 3 to 4 guests.
Yeah.
And me sitting next to my wife and another guest, it just got too crowded.
Just a GoPro. This is good.
All right. It just got too crowded, and what happened was it just affected the camera angles, right? Because there'd be times where I'm like, well, I need to focus more on my wife. She's talking, but half of my dumb face is still in the shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we needed to like separate each other so you could kind of get the gist. And it was really just from the perspective of it's for social media clips. Like the way that we're framing stuff. It's for social
That's why
media.
I do split screen too, because it's so easy.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because like, you know, when you need those specific shots, how do you feel about, you know, when like, I think we talked about this earlier, like green room stuff, when people are just coming in that are not a part of the pod, they're just.
Do you get that a lot?
I have one guy. You probably know him.
Camera one's gone.
You're gonna keep that.
Okay. Well, I'll pause for you.
Oh, your camera's on, so you're good.
Yeah, your camera's on, bro.
Okay. I don't want to mess up your editing, but what are the? I'm interested.
Good.
Actually, we can talk through this because I think I dealt with the same thing. You need a dummy battery.
I just got one. It comes in today.
Okay. You need a bunch of dummy batteries, dude.
Yeah, it's so funny. I just got one today, and it hasn't come in yet. I was like, dang it, I know he's gonna mention it. He's gonna bring it up.
That was the one thing that I dealt with the Sonys was
that
like,
and the lights.
oh, 30 minutes. It's gonna shut off. Yeah.
How long are we at? How long do they last?
Is that an hour?
Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And
for
that's
this
just going
morning.
off the GoPro cam.
Pretty good.
Clock, to be honest. Yeah.
So I have one guy who he likes that aspect of, hey, we're just gonna walk in and everybody's gonna sit down, entourage style. And what he doesn't like, yes, that would work if I had a team. I don't have people manning the cameras. It's just going to be me, right? And so, but there's a level of listen. This is just, it is what it is. But all of a sudden, if somebody sits down, well, they're super tall. Well, I'm going to need to adjust the camera.
Yeah, like, go in there and adjust.
I might need to zoom out a little bit. I mean, refocus or something like that. But I think that's part of the game, the look of the pod.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that's more of like a live show.
Yeah, that's what so for the live show, because people come in here. And then, like, they'll, like, do stuff. And then, like, one time I stepped out of the room. Then somebody, like, sits in my seat. Then I come back. And they're, like, still in my seat. I'm like, all right. I don't want to say get out of my seat.
Or the howler head issue. I mean.
I have this sign. Listen to this. I have a sign. Somebody opened it and took a shot out of it. Like, that's why it's like, if you're not a guest, we're going to have. I want to get a green room set up eventually where it's like, you can sit and watch the episode in here. If you're not the guest.
I had one guest. It's only happened once. I had one guest when they walked in. And they were like, can I sit where you are? Because that my side, it's my side. And I was like, no, that's not
my side. That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, I've sat here every time.
I was like, no, that's not how this works. Like,
my seat.
This.
I'm like Sheldon. I'm like.
I laughed at that because I was like, no one asked
funny.
that.
That is really funny.
That'd be like if you went to Joe Rogan. They're like, oh, I want to sit in Joe Rogan's seat. I'm like, no, that's not a thing.
It's just crazy. People still try it. That's the thing. It just.
It was funny to me at the time.
I wouldn't try it. Hey, you gotta respect the balls a little bit.
Hey, listen, like get what you can get. Yeah, man. I mean, the pods that I do now. I mean, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel by any means, but there are times where I'm sitting there going like, I wish I could. You know what I mean? Like even for my own. Like I like to experiment. This is why. Like I said, like Take Your Shoes Off, I think is one of the most unique podcasts.
I do like how do you feel about, when Rick Glassman's setting up before when the guests already sit down and it's recording? Is that something you're into?
Not for me.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to either.
Put it this way. I think this is a side, and we'll stay on the Rick Glassman thing because for a fact, he even mentions it, that he has an editor and he has an animator.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And he blasts them out, he shouts them out and stuff like that. But I think that here's the thing. Like, I would be up for a multitude of things if I wasn't the editor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like even when I'm interviewing people, I'm always in my brain going like, I have to edit this.
So do you want to not talk a little less?
these days I try to talk less and less because I recognize that like people aren't tuning in. People are not clicking that thumbnail on YouTube to hear me.
True.
Right? They're the value and the title of the episode and the topic of the episode has nothing to do with me.
You're jogging along with him.
When we first started, we'd talk for 2 hours. Like I can talk, right? Like to where my wife's like nudging me, going like, "Can we get on her?" You know what I mean? But a lot of the times I'd be talking about their marketing too, because that's what I do, right? But at the same time, I recognize when I have to go back and edit this thing, a lot of it I would just cut out because I'm sitting there going like, people are not going to stay. If I'm talking for 8 minutes straight as the host, people are going to be like, I'm gone, because I know YouTube enough to know it's not.
Yeah, that's really funny. Me and my brother, so our show, we did it with the back and forth, and when I do it post editing, that's how we did it for a long time. And then finally, I was like, let's do split screen, and he was like, okay. And then I would run into the same things where it's like, we'd be talking. He's like saying something, have a really good point. I'm like, let me wait 30 seconds so I don't have to make a cut right here.
Right. And there's just times where I'm sitting there going like, I'm just there. Basically, like my role as a podcast host these days is just to bring in a guest and just throw them some easy underhand pitches and just hope they knock it out of the park. Because I can't obviously tell them what to answer. Yeah. But I can really, for me, I have to be as concise as possible because for clips. Right? If I'm talking, like, if I'm asking a question for a minute and a half.
Yeah, it sucks for the clip.
How is that going to be for a clip? Right?
Yeah.
It's all about them. They don't even have time to answer at this point. What's it going to be, a 4-minute clip? You know, so I kind of be like, so what do you do? Great. Or how does this work? You know what I mean? And so
or sometimes, and like,
sometimes it takes you out of
or like you'll throw them the most perfect lob and they just, boom, miss.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
and that happens. And that's just a side of like,
the part of the game.
How many episodes can you do? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking of clips, though, good segue. TikTok. Do you actually think the ban will happen tomorrow? Is it going away?
I think that it will be dark tomorrow from an operations perspective.
Okay.
I mean, put it this way. I don't think it's any, and again, I'm not a political guy. I don't have any skin in this game. I don't have stock in Meta.
Okay.
I just think there's no coincidence that it's going dark the day before the inauguration. Okay. So
it is. I don't. You know what's crazy is I don't know what that means.
Well,
but it means something.
Here's what my gut tells me is that
because I'm not political at all.
I think that the new president will resurrect it.
That'd be sick.
Because I think, especially with the younger generation, I don't know that he has a huge fan base with Gen Z. Okay.
He wants it. Yeah.
But I think he has a better. I think the older people. Like, my mom hates him. Hates his guts.
Like, I feel like Biden just cared to it, kind of like.
I don't think the majority of the government understands all this whatsoever, right? It's all,
It's all under the table.
Well, like, have you seen the video of them pressing the guy about it? Where they're like, have you ever served in the Chinese military? He's like, no, I haven't. I don't remember where he's from, but they're pressing. He's like, no. Like, he has no ties to China.
There's a lot of just grandstanding as a whole, right? And so I think that, like, I mean, I make the same thing. It's like, well, if you're out here trying to ban because it's a threat to national security and it's owned by China, I understand that from a government perspective. I do.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've got to be consistent then, right? Because you're going like, well, what about Shein and Temu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
TikTok Shop.
They're taking your information. They're doing a number of things with it. It's just that people aren't creating these videos saying that the government is bad on them.
Oh yeah, you're not reading your terms and agreements either.
Listen, I know I'm probably one guy that knows the creepiness of algorithms. Okay, like I said, I've been running Facebook ads for over 15 years.
Yeah,
I know how these algorithms work, and I know how they can really get creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, I can target the most intricate stuff. So I get it from that perspective. I don't think the majority of people recognize that, like, if you have this propaganda or something, and I don't want to go down this like conspiracy theory by any means, but like it takes time. And I think that there is a world where, yes, you can influence people through algorithms and through things like that. I mean, it's no different than people watching MSNBC.
The Andrew Tate era, too.
Andrew Tate.
Don't forget the Andrew Tate era.
It's all just a rabbit hole.
Fox News, MSNBC. I mean, if you just live in a bubble that all the information, but very specific information is being fed to you, that's what you're going to believe.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the sense of like, well,
but it's
what
funny,
else is happening?
It's so funny that like TikTok's the problem.
Put it this way. Like, I got on the TikTok train late, right? Like
I love TikTok.
I wasn't a bike dance.
I never had it.
2018. Good for you.
I know, right?
I'll be honest with you. Like, so my last name is primarily Shewchuk is primarily what I go by on all social networks. And when I went to finally maybe 2019, go get a TikTok, my name was already taken. And so at that point,
Dang.
I'm sitting there going like, well, I don't want to use this thing because I don't want it.
Yeah.
It was more of just like, well, if I can't have my name, then I don't want it anyways.
Like, what am I gonna do when I poop after?
It's
TikTok's
more
done?
investment, right? I would say that like frankly, I don't really. I mean, if TikTok doesn't come back, for me, it doesn't. I don't care.
Like I would be a lot more sad if CapCut went away for sure.
But
I'd be
100%,
heartbroken.
yeah.
I'd be
That's
heartbroken.
awful, man.
But I'm also not. I'm also in a different generation. Like
Yeah.
I don't spend the time that I spend on TikTok. The time that I spend, it's more or less from a business perspective
Really?
than anything. I'm not a massive consumer.
Oh, I'm a bad.
I'm
consumer.
clearly not creating dancing content and stuff like that.
So when
You've
you're
never
what
hit
you're
the
looking
Renegade?
for, like when you run the business,
I
side,
wouldn't have
like,
guessed
what
that,
are some things
honestly.
that are like making you stay on TikTok to like promote something or whatever?
I think it's just because their algorithm is very smart, right? So
Great dude. It's the best.
I mean,
short-form
we've
content.
definitely, from our podcast perspective, that's where we've gotten, a large majority of our views is from TikTok. And I recognize that, like, okay, if we talk about Midland, Texas in this clip, it takes a little bit, but it gets picked up.
Whoa. Okay.
But it's no different than YouTube. YouTube just takes a little bit longer to pick up.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping a lot of these people will transition over to YouTube just because I'm just bullish on YouTube as a whole.
Yeah.
But that's where we could kind of see like, okay, it's finding the people. And I could tell because of the comments. When the comments are coming like back and it's feedback and they're going like, I can go, okay, these people live here.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? It's not just somebody from around the world that are going like, oh, I think the zoo.
And that's the goal either way of the pod.
Right. So, but from a marketing perspective, or I shouldn't say marketing, from my business perspective, there's only so many social networks that I can manage.
Yeah.
Would you rather independently manage these kind of things, or would you prefer to like build that team?
I would prefer to build a team all day. And not even just from the perspective of like, cool, because I don't want to do it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to do it. But it's also from the perspective of like, I'm just a people person. And I'd be like, what do you think? And I'm not the smartest. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want to work with people that are like, oh, I want to go, man, that was an amazing idea. Yes. Let's run with that.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't want to just live in a world where, I'm my own feedback loop. Like that's boring.
Yeah.
So, I'm just in a place where I don't charge thousands and thousands of dollars so I can have this team out, and build this team.
Or have thousands of podcasts that you're producing weekly.
I don't want thousands of podcasts under my belt. Like I didn't set out to create an agency by any means.
Yeah.
I just like doing this.
Yeah.
So,
But you are a business guy, so
right. I have
you would take it on.
Yeah. I would take it on, but I mean, there's a ceiling to the number of podcasts that are going to come out of this area.
But yeah, back to
Either
the TikTok thing that I also think is really interesting is the Red Note.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen about that? The pure Chinese app that they're all downloading that probably steals your information too. I think it's really funny. But what I really want to say, so I was talking about my mom who hates Trump. I haven't told this story on the pod because it's just so funny.
Very polarizing comment, dude. I mean, considering you live in Midland, Texas, but okay.
Right?
Oh, my mom is very, very left.
Okay.
And you can get her going so bad. And like one day I made some joke. Like, Gene, I'm so middle, don't care about anything, but I'm just a jokester. I made some joke and she starts going off a rant. I was like, Mom, genuinely, because she loves TikTok. I said, if Trump saves TikTok, will you at least like him 1% more? 1%. Like, will you at least admit, I don't like him anything, but that was sick that he saved TikTok? She goes, no. I was like, you're lying. Like, she's just so caught in the hatred.
It's
that
funny
she
because
couldn't
you
admit.
mentioned the Red Note thing, and it's like, isn't that how TikToks are? Like everyone's just trying to catch that new one.
Yeah.
I think people are. I think people are just on a meme, right? It's like being petty as a joke. I don't think that's going to last, but I think it's just being petty as a joke that turns into a meme.
Well said. That's actually
Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody had to be the first person on, and then they made a video, and then people are like, "That's hilarious." Okay, I'll do that too. I don't think there's really going to be legs. I mean, there's new social networks that spawn up every single day.
Instagram. If
Most of them are
Instagram
terrible.
can start paying creators, I think it has a real good chance to
100%.
take that thing of TikTok.
100%.
I think Instagram's algorithm is what's hurting them the most.
Yeah, that's what I really do like about TikTok too. And this is where TikTok's creepy. You'll watch a video and you'll think about something. You go to search a video after watching it, and it'll be there.
I think the thing
That is great.
the thing that helped, like TikTok, they already recognized they beat Instagram.
Yeah,
Right.
they know.
They were going after YouTube,
Oh, really?
right?
They almost had it.
And well, because the search functionality, they're a search engine, right? Like TikTok is a search engine
It's
for
so
that
good.
generation.
It's so good.
Nobody's going on Instagram and searching for things
Yeah.
at scale, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And being like, oh, I really want to learn about this because the algorithm is just not that great. And so I think what helped creators as a whole on TikTok was the analytics, because you could go in and go, okay, I can see watch time.
Yeah.
I can see where my content is falling apart.
Yeah.
Similar to YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
I really hate just the TikTokers who have built careers doing this stuff.
Yeah,
like you see like
100%,
the people who build homes.
Yeah.
Or like the lawnmower guys who like they own landscaping companies and they'll go mow people's lawns for free.
Right.
And like they can't do that anymore because TikTok doesn't pay it. Like I think that's just
I
sad.
never was on board with TikTok's
And business.
creator fund.
Oh.
I know people that have a ton of views, a ton of followers, and are making no money, right? So I would say this, like, and this is just like any channel, right? Like, I'm still blown away, and I get it. I'm maybe, like maybe the times are changing, but I'd be like, how do you not have a website?
I don't have a website.
Right. So that's that's from the area that I come from, right?
Is that another 40 Wolves approved? Need a website?
No, I would say you're fine, because if you were like, this isn't your business, right? Like is this a business for you?
No, I make no money from it. No.
Okay, so it's not a business for you, so then you're fine,
Yeah.
right? But I would just say if people were like, hey, I have this whole, like, I'm not a fan of TikTok Shop. I'm not a fan. I'd be like, okay, if you're putting all your eggs in one basket or one channel, you're doomed.
Yeah.
Period.
Makes sense.
Right? You've got to diversify to an extent. So when I see that people are like, oh my gosh, like I have a full-time career on TikTok, I go, why?
Like, you should have like started going to YouTube and stuff.
You should have, started going to multitude of places.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, I mean, even the greatest like YouTubers figured out that, like, okay, so
most of them are from Vine.
we had to
Paul,
build
David
a community.
Dobrik, yep.
We have to build a community. So now we have this community that we can go, like, by the way, go to our website and buy merch.
Like
by the way,
like you have Mr. Beat does with those channels with the different languages. Do you
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, or has products, right?
Feastables.
Feastables,
Prime.
yeah.
Right.
It's
like
disgusting, but
that
somehow.
to me should be the goal, right? The goal should be you build a community, great, but then you diversify so you make income in other places. Because, I mean, people complain, they were like, I had a Facebook page and now nobody's going. And I go, yeah, because they want you to run ads.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you run ads and you're like, yeah, but I'm not getting as much. Yeah, because it's saturated.
Yeah.
Right. And they're being handcuffed by other things. So
That's really, and then this is another thing we have to talk about, just with the Good Time Podcast aspect, and then we can wrap it up here after. Movies.
Okay.
I know you're not the biggest movie guy, right?
I mean, I'm a movie guy. I don't stay up on maybe the brand new stuff, but I'm an IMDb guy.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, do you know what a Letterboxd top 4 is?
I don't.
So there's this app called Letterboxd, and it's basically Instagram for movies. So every time I see a movie, I go on and review it, do all that, and it's cool. People follow you based off your review. It's kind of like that. And click on profile.
Letterboxd. Okay, I've never heard of this.
Go to Lennon Hillman and then profile. So like you click up favorite 4. So those are my favorite 4 movies.
Those are your favorite 4 movies?
Yes, Oppenheimer, Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, Karate Kid, and Back to the Future.
Okay.
Is that 40 Wolves approved?
Infinity War could maybe take place over Karate Kid.
I would say, man, I'm surprised by that, to be honest
Star
with
is
you.
Born is fire.
I'm surprised. Okay, and I'll be real. And again, maybe it is what it is. But I am honestly shocked that there are 2 80s movies that are in your top 4.
Back to the Future right behind.
Back to the Future, I love Back to the Future.
Okay,
so
man.
good. And Karate Kid, I've seen Ask Adrian. I've seen that movie 500 times.
It's quite annoying.
That's a testament to you. That is approved because
Let's go.
You're not just picking things from you're picking things from before your time. Which is very cool.
Prisoner of Azkaban came out 2003. A year when I was 1 year old.
I think Hillman barely just saw Good Will Hunting is what he just seen it.
I saw it go one a few months ago.
All right. I honestly I haven't seen Oppenheimer. I don't have the
Me neither, brother.
I don't have the time for 3-hour movies anymore.
I've seen it 5 times.
Really?
Yeah, it's my favorite movie.
I mean, obviously I have an appreciation for amazing.
These are all his movies he's watched this year, correct?
Yeah.
So every movie you watch, you go in there. That's very cool. All right, I can see some definite favorites in there.
Well, what would be your top 4 favorites?
Gosh. Top 4 movies. I mean, Red Dawn is always going to be.
Oh my gosh, what a banger! The new one or the old one?
I haven't even watched the new one.
Oh,
I refuse.
Okay.
Because and to me, that's probably the first movie that I remember as a kid watching.
Okay.
Like I remember it watching it.
Okay, good pick.
Red Dawn's in there. I mean, I do love I'm a Back to the Future guy.
So good.
I'm an 80s movie guy.
Do you like 2 better?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Because 2 was the future. My dad likes 2 way more.
Okay, so the reason why I like 2 was because of the future.
I like 2 better.
I like the Nikes.
I like
right?
2 better too.
I like the aspect of where he got the almanac and was like going to bet on the World Series.
So cool.
Right? I was like, man, because it was like, yeah, I want to do that.
It's
so American.
The hoverboard.
The reason why I have it, the first one over it, like probably grade wise, it goes a little too much with I can't think of that guy's name.
Making out with his mom? What?
No, in the second one.
Oh, the second one.
With the time Biff, they do a little too much. They play into the bit a little too much.
And you have
Biff.
multi-verse Biff.
Yeah, they did it a little too much.
Yeah. Gosh, putting on the spot a little bit, top 4, but I mean, I'm a Gremlins guy.
Oh, okay.
Man, let's go. I love it.
That's that's kind of my era. I mean,
oh,
I still remember. I'll be honest with you,
brings me
man.
back.
I still remember when I saw Jurassic Park, and I was just like, I thought it was real, like to an extent.
Really?
I was like, I think I was like,
Is it right here?
I was maybe 12.
Look at
I
this.
see Jurassic World there. Over there.
I have this classic
Okay.
thing. It's a collectible.
Like I've always been I'm a special effects guy, right? I love that stuff.
These might be the Avengers right here.
And that was a kind of a game changer. Okay, I can kind of see some DVDs behind you. Might help jog my memory a little bit, but
I have a bunch.
But yeah, I mean, I would say like
one more under the belt.
40 Wolves approved.
40 Wolves approved list. Last one.
I don't want a lot of dead air here, but gosh,
screw it.
What about a good one for like? Do you have any younger kids or no?
I have 2 kids. They're grown now.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I say like I was already an adult. Harry Potter is past my. I'm past that time.
Can we throw a show in here real quick? You got a show?
I mean, TV for sure. I mean, I'm a Sherlock Holmes guy.
Okay.
I loved Sherlock. BBC shows I'm always confused about because their seasons are so short.
Okay.
They'll have like 3 episode seasons.
That's weird.
We're on Slow Horses. We've been watching a lot of. We've like just binged the whole Slow Horses.
Have you
4
seen
seasons.
Squid Games?
I didn't. I mean,
the new season just came out.
I watched it and I was not.
You didn't like the new season?
I wasn't impressed.
Episode 1, episode 2. I even told Ermac. I said season 2 sucks. I was like, first episode was a 1 out of 10 maybe.
This looks banging.
After I'm done, I'm like, it might have been better than season 1.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
We just finished Silo last night, 2nd season.
So y'all are big show guys.
I watch a lot more TV these days than movies.
Okay,
for sure. So like the Apple TV, like Severance season 2 just started. I'm about to watch that tonight. The Apple TV television show, they're like the HBO of the early 2000s.
Oh, okay. That's your
Oh,
go. Wait,
banging, dude.
is that your go-to Apple for shows?
Probably not consistently, just because we'll go through that whole season and then you're kind of waiting around. But I'm always, put it this way, I'm always down to try a new Apple show.
Okay.
Probably before something else. You know what? I just finished literally this morning, dude. I just rewatched Game of Thrones.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Oh my gosh, bro, let me know. That's my favorite show on earth, bro.
Yeah, he loves Game of
I
Thrones.
just finished the last episode this morning.
I've never watched it, but my girlfriend was like, Lennon,
Like,
come
this
here,
scene
come
right
here.
here is so powerful, bro. This scene.
My
right
girlfriend, one of Amelia Clark's scenes,
Sure.
she called me in and was like, Lennon, look, you want to see this? I was like, gave her a high five, walked out. It was dope.
Like, like I would say the old HBO, man, was just like Oz, Sopranos. I mean, they just had banger after banger, dude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, I started a little bit to watch the new Dexter.
Is it good or no?
I've heard mixed.
I heard it's not mixed.
I've heard mixed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that aspect of like, it's nostalgic because you go like, okay, well, what was Dexter like when he was 17? And I'm like, but I'm almost
but
like,
the actor
maybe
too.
I don't
It's like
care.
when it's a different actor, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a new prequel, I guess, or something like that, or a new series with the original. But even the original actor, I don't remember his name now, but I
couldn't tell you
know
either.
him. But I mean, the show that he was originally in was
Strong show.
6 Feet Under. That was a great show.
Yeah. Breaking Bad's up there.
Breaking Bad's up there.
Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I would agree with that. AMC had some hits.
Sitcoms? You a sitcom guy at all?
These days, sitcoms, I don't even know. I don't stay on live television anymore.
What's the best sitcom of all time?
Gosh. Best
the
sitcom
puppy.
of all time.
You know, let the puppy out real quick and just bring her in here so she just shuts up.
I mean, sitcom wise, I still have a love for Married with Children
Yeah.
from the late '90s or whatever.
Okay,
I think
I've
that
never
was it,
even heard of
mid-90s.
Married with Children.
Really?
Never heard of it.
With Al Bundy, old Fox, like when Fox first started.
Okay.
Like it was like The Simpsons and Married with Children.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm a big, The Office, and
Friends.
I didn't get into Friends, dude.
Friends is
My wife
favorite.
loves Friends.
I love Friends.
She'll rewatch Friends today. Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory is classic.
Big Bang Theory is top notch for sure. Yeah, but I'm that type where it's like if a movie comes on or a new TV show comes on, I'm instantly pulling up IMDb, going like, where have I seen that person before? Where have
That's what I do with
the
Letterboxd.
trivia.
That's what I do with Letterboxd
Okay.
too, or like Rotten Tomatoes too. Before I go see a movie,
Sure.
I like to see what people think about it, and then I'm instantly like, it's really cool. I love being the first 20 minutes, be like, this is not a 5 out of 10, and then at the end you're like, this was a 5 out of 10.
Have you seen the new American Primeval on Netflix? I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, I'm
Legit?
hooked. I'm hooked.
Oh, I need to
It's
check
like
it
a
out.
very gritty Western, and it's just gruesome and gritty.
I
dude.
love gruesome shows.
Yeah.
Anything gruesome, I'm a sucker for. Dude,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
She
the
did
only
good
reason
at
why
crime.
I'm not more into movies these days is I'm not into the movie theater experience anymore, man. I
What?
think it's dated, dude.
What? I love it. Nothing beats, except Synergy got rid of their buffalo chicken pizza.
Oh, dude, that's crime.
Crime.
That's crime.
That was a game changer. That was
Every time he's ever been to a movie with me, that's what I order. Like
For
that's
sure.
it was. I've literally gone there just for their buffalo chicken pizza.
the last movie that I went to in a movie theater was the Batman,
The new one? Oh, man.
whatever the last one was.
That's why I just replaced the Step Brothers was the Batman before for the movie.
And it's not the movie theater experience; it's the people at movie theaters. I
Really.
just can't do it.
There are some annoying ones in
I
there.
just can't do it. And it's every movie. Like
I never have bad ones. I'm like Blue Beetle was the only time ever.
I just
kind of laugh like out of nowhere. If it's
I'm that type where it's like, you can't be talking. You can't be like, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I just paid to be here. I just get impatient with people just being annoying in movie theaters.
Yeah, I mean I can't stand it either. But
Did you watch The Penguin?
I have not seen it.
That
It's
was
legit.
Great. That was great.
I know. I've heard it's legit. It's one of those. There's so much right now, and I prioritize Squid Games because of my girlfriend this
Yeah.
past 2 weeks or so. So I haven't really watched.
I
The
liked the
Penguin.
first season of Squid Games, and I don't watch a lot of like international TV and movies.
Uh-huh.
But I understood. I liked the premise. I was like, okay, like they have to, they have to do these games. They're going to die. Most of them are going to die, and right. And so I was like all on board to like watch season 2. Here's what the thing, and I don't want to spoil this for anybody. I didn't
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
You're good.
spoiler alert. I didn't realize that they were already signed up to do a third season.
Yeah, it's already confirmed.
So it ended on this
It-
weird cliffhanger.
No,
for
it was
me.
terrible. I literally thought there was another
Season 2 did
episode.
the same
Season
thing?
I thought it was
yeah.
another episode, and then he goes, "It's over." I was like, "You're lying." She goes,
Right.
"Yep." I was
That's
like,
why
"No
I
way."
was. That's why I was kind of.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, they recognize there's. I just wanted to see the games. Like, what games are you doing?
And I compared it to my girlfriend like this. It was like, gives me the Infinity War / Empire Strikes Back ending is what that ending gave me.
Okay,
That's
so
why it made me feel that way.
you've mentioned Marvel a couple of times now. So I would say that What are your thoughts on Marvel these days?
Oh, man.
Their past few stuff has been pretty bad, sadly.
I think the last movie that was a movie before that, like the last Doctor Strange movie. I was like, I'm out.
Terrible.
I'm
It's
out.
because
That girl,
of course
bro.
I'm forgetting the director. He did Spider-Man. Oh my gosh. That's
Multiverse.
Oh my gosh, what's his Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi.
It's because Sam Raimi made a beautiful movie, and then Marvel goes in and is like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and it's terrible.
Is Raimi Evil Dead?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and like he made great movies. The old school Spider-Mans are great movies, and
Sure.
this movie was very disappointing. So the writer of this show did not watch the previous show that was before this about Wanda, who
Are you
was the
talking
main
about
character in the show.
All right.
He
Okay.
didn't watch it. So all this character development they had she was in it as much as Strange, just about. He didn't watch all the character development she's had.
That's a weird move.
And the ice cream song was.
I
that was
try
really bad.
I try to give all of these shows and movies, Disney Plus. So you got Star Wars and you got the Marvel universe in there. I try to give them all a chance.
I've given up on Star Wars. More than Marvel.
I haven't watched the last Skeleton Crew, but I've enjoyed it.
Is it good?
I've enjoyed it because they essentially said it's like Amblin Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the Goonies, Star Wars.
Wow.
And so put the Goonies in the top 4 for me. Goonies is up there.
Goonies, great pick.
Oh man,
That's up there. That's up there.
Speaking of Marvel
They
and
re-released that
Goonies,
movie, I think, in the
go to pull it
theaters.
up. I got to tinkle real quick.
I
before.
hope not.
I think the other day, they're like a couple, like maybe a month ago or so, I seen it. They did like a throwback where they put Goonies in the theater.
I feel like every movie's gonna get remade. You know, like you
I
can,
hate that shtick.
you can always do. You know, it's like they're in a business, right? Hollywood's a business, so.
It's like every rinse and repeat idea involving the same.
All right, let me ask you this: would you prefer a remake or a 4th sequel?
Because I think a remake would hit more different, to be honest. I guess so. I guess you're maybe right, but only reason why I would even say that is because with the remake, you don't have to know the cast, even if they're like a younger version of them or whatever. Like
Okay.
there's just enough backstory already built in involving the characters' past and past movies.
Sure,
and stuff like that.
sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, a whole new rebuttal would probably be something I wouldn't be into. Because then you gotta like grow into this character and grow into that character, and then if he dies, does it matter?
Right.
Shit like that. But
I think I prefer a sequel to a remake, only because like of a nostalgia, right? Like
yeah,
like if so, I think that the community would revolt if somebody tried to do a Goonies.
oh yeah,
Reboot?
100%.
Not Goonies, but a Gremlins like remake.
Oh,
What I asked him was, do you prefer a remake or a 4th sequel?
That's hard.
because it's funny you even say that. Because like if they try to do Goonies now with this action right,
It would
here,
never happen.
Not hit. It would not hit.
No, it would be
That's cancelable too.
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
vulture,
You'd
yeah.
get canceled, yeah, for sure.
Crazy. Same thing with Tropic Thunder. Couldn't do today.
No, I would say I
Banger.
give the shows a chance to an extent. I tried to get into like Andor. It's just so
Andor's
slow.
good.
But I heard it was great.
Andor's great.
And so I try to like give it a chance, but it was just so slow. Or I'm like, I don't know how much time I have to devote to this. But meanwhile, I just said I rewatched all of Game of Thrones within like 3 weeks.
Is it
Yeah.
Disney Plus?
That's how I'm with
exclusive,
Cobra
or-
Kai.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai. Ugh, I'll rewatch it in one day.
I watched the first 2 seasons.
First season
because
is
of nostalgia.
the first season. I think is better than any Karate Kid ever.
Did you see the new Karate Kid that's coming out?
Yeah, it's gonna be so bad. I talked about with Sean Chandler, who's like the Karate Kid guy on YouTube,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what they're doing." I'm going opening night.
Are you? Okay.
I'll go to most of these movies, dude. Hey, invite me to the premiere, guys.
Oh yeah, the Jackie Chan. Yeah. I'm just like I prefer just watching movies at home these days. Like
I love going to the movie theaters. This is the experiments, and it's me and my girlfriend. We love dates out of it.
no, I mean listen, I'm all for it, but I've just been in too many
How was this
times
movie?
where
Fire. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I cried.
the remake?
Oh yeah, the remake's great. It's not as good as the original, but it's great. He
Wait,
actually.
with Jaden Smith? Or
Yeah,
what is it?
James Smith.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something crazy? You know, in the final fight of Karate Kid, he does not wax on, wax off once, and he does not use defense once. He purely attacks pretty much in all the final fights.
Does he paint the fence?
No, he doesn't. I mean, maybe he might hit him with some but like he does not once. And like the final fights go like he like attacks. He uses all offense. It's really
In the
It kind of-
in the newer ones or in the
in the
older
older one.
Okay.
It's not in the final fight. I doubt because Johnny's just attacking him, so there's no point. Is it playing in the headphones?
He didn't cheat? Did he cheat? Is that a sanctioned
It's an illegal head kick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an illegal head. Johnny Lawrence is the best. He's one of my favorite
He's
characters
the
of all
winner.
time.
He's the winner.
I have a Cobra Kai gi actually.
Are you? Oh man, okay.
I have it.
You're,
I didn't have
You're
it when I-
invested in the Karate Kid universe.
I have a Spider-Man suit. I'm a big nerd.
I like it.
Like I grew up reading comic books,
Okay.
so
I didn't grow up reading comic books,
You wanna
and then I
put
kind of got into Spawn.
oh okay, Spawn.
Oh,
Nice.
dude, Spawn's one of my
Early
favorite.
Spawn. I was like, Todd McFarlane. I was like, okay, this is great.
Yeah,
Like,
that's crazy. I never read a Spawn comic.
Is the Spawn movie good? I've never seen it.
I was pure Spider-Man and Superman
I don't
comics
remember
as a
it being
kid.
good.
Really? Yeah, that Spawn movie sucked.
I don't remember it being good.
Yeah, because I forget.
Have you
the
seen?
name.
I know the new Daredevil's coming out. What'd you think of
So
the
nervous
Netflix
about it.
Daredevil?
So good.
So good.
So I actually think the Punisher is better.
I think the
Yeah.
Punisher's better. Yeah.
The season 1 of the Punisher, I wouldn't hate if you say that's one of the best. I honestly probably think it's the second best TV show.
I
of
can watch
all
that
time.
on my deathbed. Season 1 Punisher on my deathbed.
X-Men 97 that Disney just did. That's where Disney Plus brought me back in with X-Men.
I watched the
97.
first episode. I didn't really get into X-Men
Oh, it's so
growing
good.
up.
Apocalypse is the only one I liked.
Oh well, all the X-Men movies suck. Those are all terrible.
They're not good. Yeah.
Shout out to X-Men, man.
I don't think there's a good X-Men movie. Like I don't think any of them are good. That's a lie. Last Stand's great. Not Last Stand. Or First Class is great.
Oh yeah,
What
First
about
Class.
what about
Logan. Logan's great.
Yeah, Logan.
Nah, but it's not an X-Men movie.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But Logan, I think Logan and Deadpool are great movies. The first Deadpool is one of my favorites. It could be my. It could be my.
I think
top
I
four.
cried in Logan when I first seen it as a kid.
Oh, I definitely cried.
Man,
You didn't see Deadpool and Wolverine?
I did see it.
Did you like it?
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was
I think
fine.
it was a lot of fan service. They did what they were
Yes,
supposed to.
Yes. And I just haven't stayed up on all the other. You know, you have like if you're gonna get the references, you got to stay up on it.
But one of the references when he was like Goliath from season 7, episode 2 of Loki, or
Right.
like season.
And I
2,
didn't watch
episode
it.
7.
Right. And I
But then
didn't
you
watch it.
pick it up when he says that. I thought
Sure.
that was really cute.
this is a good scene though in the beginning. I love this scene right
The Bye 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 is classic, dude.
here. Even having all the metal.
So what's on your radar for upcoming stuff that you're like?
Superman. That's gonna be
Okay.
the bet. That's gonna be my new Oppenheimer.
All right. So are you is it James Gunn or no?
Yes, James Gunn. I'm
Okay.
a James Gunn defender. He's never made a bad movie.
Wow.
Guardians 1, 9
This
out
is
of
being recorded.
Yeah, Guardians
Okay.
1, 9 out of 10. Guardians 2,
Okay.
9 out of 10. Guardians 3, 10 out of 10. Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, 10 out of 10. The old school Scooby-Doo movies, they're pretty good. Those are classic. But this movie,
Yeah.
bro,
Give
oh
him
my
give him
gosh.
some. Give
You
him
think he's
some,
made bad movies?
Here's the thing. Sometimes I don't know a James Gunn versus just something else. I just know that like the DCU movies that I had seen.
He hasn't. Okay, so he's just took over DC.
Okay.
So it's him and Peter Savarin who does the. Look up Peter Savarin. Let's look up James Gunn or just never mind. Just do Peter S something.
So
Peter
okay.
Safran,
So
Safran.
who did Suicide Squad and who did the Suicide Squad? Or
So the first Suicide Squad was David Ayers. It's so
I
bad.
like Ayers. I like Ayers though.
That movie sucks though.
Okay, but I like Ayers. That's
yeah,
fair.
David
That's
Ayers
fair.
is good. Then the
Yeah.
second one was James Gunn,
Okay.
which was good. So basically, the lore was so James Gunn comes in, makes Guardian 1s, makes Guardians 2
Right.
for Disney, which you would say those are both pretty good.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, the first two,
Yeah, those are fantastic.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
then those tweets come out about them.
Okay. Right.
Bunch of tweets.
Cancel culture stuff.
Yeah, cancel culture
Okay,
stuff. Disney
I get
lets
it.
them go, of course. It's Disney right in cancel culture. Let them go.
Right.
DC's like, come on. Then he makes a
Okay.
Suicide Squad a DCU movie
Okay.
in the DCU. He makes
Okay.
one, and it's the best movie they've ever had, probably, in my opinion. In the DCU, easily the best.
Okay.
Then Disney's like, hey, let's make Guardians 3, and all the actors say, no, we're not doing it without James Gunn.
Okay.
Then they bring James Gunn back. He makes Guardians 3, and it's a banger. Then DC says, we're getting rid of DCU. James Gunn, start fresh right now. And they came out, their first project is called Creature Commandos. It's on Max. It's great.
Yeah.
I
And then-
watched the first episode.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not a big animation guy,
Yeah.
but I can appreciate it. Like, there's just it's hard for me
The
to. get into
Conjuring
cartoons.
universe. That's Peter Safran did the Conjuring universe. So it's
Oh, okay.
they built a good universe. So it's him and
Sure.
James Gunn are building the DC universe, and the Superman movie is the start of it.
Got it.
The first movie they're releasing.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying Creature Commandos is very like it's like a low simmer of Invincible because there's like killing in it and stuff like that.
I bet you it's nowhere near as good as Invincible.
I didn't.
yeah,
I didn't watch
obviously.
Invincible. My son likes it. I didn't watch it.
It's
I
really
did watch
good.
what's the other superhero one on
The Boys?
The Boys?
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah,
So good.
I do like The Boys.
Boys is
I think
fire.
and again, I didn't. I'm assuming it was a comic. It's a comic.
Yeah.
I
I've
didn't
never read
get
it.
into. I didn't watch it, but I just started to. I watched the first episode. Probably a season.
Same
like,
thing.
I'm,
It gets you
I'm that
hooked
type
quick.
where it's like I'll get into it with a new season and everybody's talking about it. I'm like, oh, I haven't watched this, so I'll try it. The first scene of The Boys, I was like, oh, I'm in,
When
Yeah.
A-Train runs, you're like,
because I wasn't expecting it at all.
not at all. You
I
don't
was like-
expect anything, and that's
I
what
was
I
like,
like about it.
okay, so I go, okay, so this is like if
Very broad.
superheroes were assholes,
Yeah.
and I was
love
like,
it, dude.
I'm in. That's a great concept.
Homelander's terrifying. Did you see the most recent season?
Yeah, I saw it all.
Homelander, like burning that dude alive. That scene is like Anthony Starr is putting on a generational
Or that scene where
performance.
Homelander like beams everybody in that crowd.
Oh my god.
Dude, that's nuts.
It's
dude.
hard for me to
love
explain
that.
the show to people because I'm sitting there going like, it's weird. It's weird.
It's very
not-
weird.
yeah.
Very weird. It goes too weird sometimes that I think.
Well, the spinoff when they're at university.
Oh, you didn't like it? That's my favorite
I was
season
just
they've
like,
made.
there's just a time where like I'm feeling like you're going overboard just for the sake of going overboard. I'm sitting there going like,
They
okay.
might make a movie, and that's what
I'm
I
like,
think.
okay,
they
I
might go
get it.
overboard.
It's shock value for the sake of shock value.
Yeah,
right?
I love it. This year was a great year for superhero TV shows. So you had The Penguin, which
Penguin's
everybody
great.
said was great. Invincible
Fantastic.
season 2,
Okay.
everybody said was great. Creature Commandos,
Okay.
everybody said was great. X-Men 97,
Okay.
which you haven't seen it. I can attest, it is so good.
I watched the first episode.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
then something else came out but they had like so many bangers in superhero when there was nothing good for movies besides Deadpool and Wolverine, which was all right.
Animation
Yeah.
slide is.
Let me ask you, Walking Dead. What are your
All you, I
thoughts?
love Walking Dead. Talk
Never
about
seen
Walking Dead.
one episode.
You haven't seen one?
I've never seen Game of Thrones. I'm way more of a movie guy.
Dude, here's my thing. I will watch Game of Thrones and Walking Dead till I die. Like even though I finished it all. Like,
What about the last couple seasons? of
It's
Walking
not
Dead?
good.
Okay. All
When
right.
It's not
when
good.
do you cut off? It's like Game of Thrones. And
Like you
Walking
have to
Dead.
know to
cut off a few seasons early.
to know. Like I cut off after they go to the kingdom. That's when I stopped watching.
Same.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's like it's not good anymore. It's not pure.
I was like,
Spoiler
all right, I'm done.
alert! Whenever John Berthenol dies, were you pissed?
No, because it's like because you get it. I feel like you
You
feel
got
like
it?
it's happening. You feel
Because
like
you
it's
love
gonna
John
happen.
Berthenol.
But
I
also,
didn't like him then. I didn't.
but
like him.
also, I'll agree with that because I didn't know like he was still a no name as far
Right.
as
He
that's what-
was?
I didn't know
Okay.
him. I just
Yeah.
knew the scene was happening. I knew something
Yeah.
was gonna happen with Rick and.
I don't remember even seeing him in anything before that.
That might have been.
I know he's been in other
Let's see.
things.
Actually, hold on.
But,
dude.
like,
he's my favorite actor.
It's not like I picked
Because
him
what
up.
would
Like,
he?
oh, that's
He
him.
wouldn't have been in. I couldn't think of anything. Wolf of Wall Street was after all the stuff.
He was in.
Punisher was after.
He was in.
King Richard. He was in.
Was he in Sicario? He was in Sicario for a couple scenes.
Sicario.
Is this Sicario really?
Yeah,
Okay, let's see.
Sicario's a banger too. I mean, that's one of my favorites. Put
I
that
don't
in top
even
four.
know-
Top
I
four.
don't- I don't even know what Sicario is.
You have
That's
seen
a cartel,
Sicario?
dude.
I've never seen it.
Oh, dude,
I've
it's
never
a
even heard
banger
of
movie,
it.
dude. It's
good?
a banger movie. It's like in a cartel assassin
Cartel
movie. I
movie.
say.
It's hard to come up with the top 4.
It is.
It's really hard.
Well, because you have to think of like, oh, was it when I was growing up, and does it have like
yeah.
nostalgia?
That's
or does it-
Karate Kid for me. Like
Okay.
Karate Kid's probably not a 10 out of 10 movie, especially every
Like,
time I
like,
watch
this
it.
guy is such a good actor, man. What's his name, dude?
Dude,
And then help me out.
I
from
can't see him.
from Usual Suspects.
Is it this guy? This Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro.
Oh, I-
Oh, and Josh, dude, that guy's a banger too.
Josh Brolin?
Yeah.
yeah.
Josh Brolin and John Berthenol got me hooked.
Berthenol's not in it for that long, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's in it.
Oh,
Emily Blunt's pretty good in this movie.
Emily
She's
Blunt's
pretty-
great.
She's a great actor.
Yeah, Sicario's a great one. Sicario 2.
What? There's a 2?
Yeah, there's
What?
Sicario 2 is great too.
That's crazy. I never even heard.
The
I've
first
never
one is
heard of this.
menacing. The first one is even on the way it ends. It's
I like
dang.
military movies for sure.
Have you seen?
I
Did
like
you see
World
The
War II
Covenant?
stuff.
What about
With
Den
Jake
of Thieves
Gyllenhaal?
Part 2? Are you feeling that?
With 50 Cent in it?
No, yeah, 50 Cent's in the first one.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, this is the new one that's coming.
Oh
out.
yeah, Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
You know what? I know I've seen Den of Thieves. I don't really remember what it was. Bank robberies, right? Or
It's
something?
like it's like cops versus robbers. Apparently,
I mean, listen, I'm all for action packed, like bank robbery movies. Give me give me Heat. Give me
Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11 because they're Vegas.
Okay.
Okay. Give me Ocean's 11 over any of the other ones for sure.
Oh yeah, easily.
Okay.
It's not even
Easily.
in comparison.
Not Ocean's
I
8.
have a friend.
Ocean's 8.
Ocean's
Come
8's a
on.
banger though.
I-
No,
I-
Ocean's 8's so unrealistic because all they had to do was like,
Pretend.
I have a friend who was in Ocean's 11.
really?
Yeah, he played a security guard.
What? That's sick.
Baller,
Yeah, yeah.
dude.
I think Brad Pitt's one of the best looking movie men of all time.
It's just
in
his
Ocean's
chin, bro.
11. He's
I mean,
so good
listen, we
looking
can
in
go
that
down
movie.
that line. I mean, you got 7. That's in my top.
7. That's
the top.
5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
That's 5
What's
out
in
of
the
5.
box? So good. And it's that movie too. When they build that contraption, he's like, "I'm sorry, he made me." You're like, "What the?"
I'm not like a horror guy. I'm not.
Oh, it's
those
just
things, but, like,
7. It's not Ocean 7.
Oh.
Brad Pitt's
Yeah.
stud. Fight Club.
Kevin Spacey before he got in trouble and
Oh, not working.
Yeah,
SEVEN. No, SE
7 N E N.
70 EN. Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
There you go, there you go. 95, dude. That's my.
Yeah, I
that's
used to
my era.
love when movie
my
covers
era.
used to look like this though. It was banging.
The editing in 7, the opening intro, the sequence, all that stuff. It was like
What's
Trent,
the opening?
It was like
of it?
Trent
Is it-
Reznor.
Is it the rain?
It was
Is
like
the
9
opening
Inch
of it?
Nails, where it was like opening credits. It was a game changer for me. That and Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Opening credits are like my favorite of all time. That's so bad. That one day I want to do for a podcast is Napoleon Dynamite.
I don't remember the opening credits.
You
but
don't?
Oh, this looks good.
the opening credit, the music. I'm fairly certain Trent Reznor was from 9 Inch Nails was a part of this, but
No, this movie was insane.
I don't know. I mean, I can talk about this kind of stuff with you all day. I don't know if you have a 3-hour podcast, but I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on for sure. Like,
You
this
make
is
or
great.
break.
Yeah,
it,
we can
brother.
go ahead and.
Yeah.
Oh, the camera died too.
Which one? camera 3. Camera 1 probably just died when I just looked away from the screen.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. All right.
Where are we at?
We're at 1:45. Not bad.
How long do you usually go?
Depends on the guest.
We're feeling. Depends on the guest. I did a 4-hour one the other day.
Okay.
But yeah. Best of Midland, where can they find you?
bestofmidlandtx.com, Best of Midland, Texas on all the social networks. I got 40 Wolves. I got Podcast Department, Shewchuk, SHEWCHUK, kind of everywhere. But yeah, if you want to start a podcast or, you want to even just talk podcasting strategy, hit me up.
Yeah.
Wait, sure. Before we go,
please.
If someone who's even scared to do that, what would you, give this give this mic something right now that's someone who wants to do what you want to do, but, just doesn't feel like they got the
in terms of business of podcasting?
I wouldn't even say business. I say just doing it like how we, just like getting your boots on the ground and actually doing it.
I would say that podcasting is such a strong networking tool and marketing tool, right? Like I said, it's like you have the ability to like make all these connections. So you're going to make connections off camera.
Yeah.
You're going to have the visibility through the clips. You're going to increase your notoriety, increase your name just by being a host of a podcast. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and it's a reps game, right? Like,
yeah,
you got to just consistently do it. But I would say you just got to start. You have to start. You don't have
it.
You don't have to have the best equipment. You don't have to have the best. You have it all figured out. But
it's about the catalog.
I'd rather you guys, have 100 episodes. You know what I mean? Than have 4 and be like, well, I don't know how this is going. Like, you just have to keep doing it.
Consistency.
100%.
That's awesome. Hit the song, and we'll see y'all next week.
Let's go.
Good episode.